Cody Reed did not know if he was going to race here tonight. Showed up late, missed out on practice, was here for qualifying. They're spinning and wrecking as they cross the line. White flag is out. This race is official. Cody Reed got too big of a gap. Gavin Rogers, Scioli are going to have the run. Ollie Finsick in the 24 as well is going to be right there. Malarkey as well. It is going to be a huge run that this 25 has to hold back. Here we go. Scioli goes high. Rogers falls to the 25. They're both trying to find an opening to get around this. They're on Productions machine. They're 3 wide. Ollie gives the bump to Cody Reed. Reed has the run. They're 3 wide behind. Cody Reed wins. It's go time for Hall. He's got to pass 3 drivers in 1 lap. Will he get by Forbes, or will Forbes block and defend? Hall trying to get to the inside. Forbes stays wide. Hall hits. Contact. Get out of the way, Forbes. Hall wants the win, but he overcooks the corner. He'll lose time there. Now going to be a 2.5 back, and Richard, it might just be down to the teammates.
Where will the mistake happen? Green looks like he's out of fuel. No, he just gets he's out of fuel. Talmadge makes the pass, and now Zach Hall coming down. But Talmadge could squeak away with this win if Hall does not get around Green fast enough.
Green just completely gives up on the chicane. He'll stay to the outside. Hall, though, he is finding himself closing in on the gap. He's a 2nd back. Thomas Green does not there. No fuel for himself. Jared Talmadge, he doesn't have the fuel. Hall sneaks by. Final chicane. Hall overcooks it. Talmadge gets through into the wall. Who's gonna have the time? They both slow down, and it's Hall at the line. Hall.
Right now, Jared Talmadge is gonna try to throw a haymaker out of number 3 into turn 3.
Down to the apron. Does Talmadge have the run? Was the dive bomb big enough? He'll slide his way into the 3. They're almost door banging off the exit of turn 4. Side by side, coming to the line, and it's gonna be Ryan Kelly with the nose. 6 1/1000ths of a second goes to Ryan Kelly. Benjamin Nelson, Cody Reed on the inside groove, but it's Christopher Wade. Shane Terrian going to be leading the middle and the outside lane. Well, Christopher Wade, he gets tapped. Spud is the 53. It's down to Zach Hall. Benjamin Nelson, lock yourself into the next round. The 79 to the outside. Zach Hall in the 32 on the inside groove. Could Cody Reed be the stealer? Inside, down to the yellow line. Cody Reed steals it at the line. Laps to go here from USA, and it is Fritz, Norman, Johnny Wood Jr. trying to find a way in closer, but it's just slider after slider. Who's going to have the nose when they come across the line? We're a lap and a half to find out. Norman for sure is looking good for himself, but Fritz wants to sweep the cash up the exit of turn number 4. White flag in hand. Norman, Fritz, Johnny Wood might be too far back unless these two make contact. Norman and Fritz side by side. Wood is working the inside groove. 3/10 back, but into the wall is Norman. Fritz looks to be clear. Norman needs one last Hail Mary. Can he get the run off the exit of the corner? Whoa. 3 wide, out to the 4, but it's Scott Fritz nose ahead and wins the All-Star BRB race here for season 6. Before we get to the racing action, we want to say thank you to all the primary sponsors of the BRB Sundance Pro Series. First and foremost, Sundance Pizza, RevSimShop.com, Performance Food Service, MXWraps.com, Whiplash Simcams, and CC Business. Thank you so much for all the sponsors. Now let's get to the racing action. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the BRB Sundance Pro Series Season 6, Race 11 on the docket. Counting tonight, we've got 3 races left in the regular season. It's Martinsville, Twin Ring Motegi, and then we head to Michigan to figure out who will be joining the 12 drivers to be a part of the chase to win the Season 6 championship. Just came off an incredible run at Kansas. Got to see Brendan Maddox get himself into victory lane once again for himself for the second time. But could tonight be a night of drama? Could be a night of keeping it calm? A lot of things are on the line as the drivers of the BRB Sundance Pro Series take their chance at the paperclip of Martinsville Speedway, a track that is known for getting frustrations out, known for building new dramas. And tonight, we're proud to give you the coverage once again on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Quassel 250 here this evening. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me, as always, here on Tuesday nights is Zach Hall. Running productions is Robert Moyer Jr. And Zach, it's certainly coming off of an eventful evening we had last week at Kansas. Saw a lot of lap traffic getting involved with the leaders, but at the end of the day, it was Maverick Motorsports that was reigning on top. Seeing Brandon Maddox getting the victory. But tonight, some of the drivers that might have some frustrations, this is the evening that you usually get it out of your system, as BRB is finally back to Martinsville since Season 2, the only other time we've been here.
Puts a smile on my face to see this on the schedule. You know, this track, unfortunately, has kind of been doomed in league racing and iRacing, in my opinion, of being a track that you don't see a lot of times on the schedule just due to the difficulty of racing around it. I mean, it's definitely a place that scares, I think, a lot of leagues off. They don't want to come here and ride around under the yellow. But I think tonight these guys are going to be able to put on a show around here. This is, in my opinion, my favorite track as a race car, as a driver in iRacing, just because it just gives you that feel of rhythm. And, you know, you got to get in that rhythm. And when we see the driver that finds that rhythm tonight, they're going to be flying.
They certainly are expected to. And the main reason why they didn't race here for a couple of seasons, well, Season 2, 24 cautions over 200 laps. Here tonight, we're hoping that does not carry over into this evening, as the field is starting to grow with 7 minutes left in practice. It's your last couple of times to get any last minute jitters out. Some drivers still trying to figure out this vehicle. The ARC car really does well at short track racing style courses. Here tonight, though, the big talking point, gear ratios. Drivers are flirting with, do you shift or not shift on the exit of the corners? I think that's going to be a fun dynamic to keep an eye out for this evening, as really when you come to these short tracks, Zach, it's traditionally you get into fourth, you need to stay in fourth when you're in this vehicle.
Definitely, yeah, especially this vehicle. You know, we've seen the next gen over the years. It's been a car that we've definitely seen a ton of shifting at pretty much every single track you go to. But in these more standard stock cars that we've seen from the past, usually stuck the fourth gear around here at Martinsville. I have times in my past year iRacing where if the gearing is just a little bit sluggish in the center, and that's kind of what I've watched from these guys in practice, just getting on board with a few of them. The RPMs dropped to about 4,000 on a set of new tires already. So I'd imagine as the tires start to wear, you're going to see some guys maybe drop down into the 3,000s range of RPM, and that is very low for anybody who doesn't know out there. Most of the time, I think these cars are revving out around 8,000, I think the ARCA car is. So it is well below what that rev range is, and I don't think they're getting the closest to getting to the rev. It's just, it becomes also the factor where this car just has a lot less power than a lot of the other cars, where it's just very, very, you know, luggish off the corner, but that makes putting the power down a lot easier here at Martinsville, in my opinion.
As they're getting last bits of practice in, you're not missing the actual race. The drivers decided, hey, let's have a little bit of what we call a pit party. Everyone groups up, runs a couple of laps around each other. Get ready, because it's about to be race time. Qualifying right around the corner. Before we get to qualifying, let's set the picture of what we have so far this season. Let's take a closer look at what the point standings look like so far entering into tonight's race. Again, 3 races counting tonight left in the regular season. Only the top 12 in points. There's no win in your in system. It is based off of raw points, who's in, who's out. And currently we're seeing some shocking names start trying to get into the mixture. A couple of drivers missing out on last week's race that are starting to fall down the listings. One of those I'm getting a little bit concerned about would be the 11 of Jay Christianberry, currently 10th on the board. Also at the cut line, you got Carl Pooler, Al Clank, Dakota Bly, who got a win at Iowa. He's just outside of the cut line with Cameron Taylor, but driver who got bounced out of the top 12, Jordan White, 15th in points. Zach, this has got to be a big points day for him on top of other drivers that are outside of the top 15.
Definitely a huge night. And like you said, Christian Berry, I mean, he's not here tonight in the registration list so far for Martinsville. So, yeah, definitely a concern for that. I think that opens up the door for some of these drivers farther behind. And, I mean, if you look at the cut line here, even Kyle Clank with, 197 points, you go all the way down to Maddox at, 188 there in 18th. That's 9 points separating these guys. And that just shows you it's going to be so close. We got 3 really different racetracks, of course, with Martinsville tonight, Motegi, then Michigan. So it is going to be a huge swap up of positions each and every week. But I think if you're someone like a Jordan White here tonight, it's important for him to get his season back on the right track, because we've seen he's led a lot of laps, just been in a lot of trouble. That's what's pushed him down the list also.
And speaking about drivers that are needing some big days, well, let's take a closer look at who we feel like are the main drivers of focus. Talked about Jordan White. Well, he's going to be my pick'em of driver to watch out for this evening. I think we could see Jordan White be in victory lane tonight, just based off the style. He runs very well at road courses, these short tracks, heavy braking zones, finding a rhythm. 83 is currently 3rd on the speed charts for practice. And I got a sense if we keep his nose out of trouble, we could be seeing Jordan White in victory lane at the end of this evening. But Zach, who's your driver to watch out for here this evening?
Well, going based off of practice and just a little bit I watched, I'm going to have to go with the 00 Dustin Stallings. He is top of the speed charts. And speed charts, yes, they matter here at Martinsville, of course, for qualifying. But the one thing I like the best from him, his long run that he put together. He did about a 45 laps run in the practice. I see no one's times really competing with him about 20 or 30 in. So he looked very strong. I think if we get a green flag run and he can keep his nose clean, he'll be in the running for it.
And our third member of our group, again, is Robert Moyer Jr. and Robert's pick for his driver to watch out for, the 22 of Joshua Parent. Parent is a kind of a coin toss driver. He's either up front at the end of these races or he's wrecked out pretty early on. And I think this 22 could be a threat to watch out for. Currently 8th fastest in practice. This practice has 2 minutes left to go. Again, we've got ourselves 3 races left in the regular season. For us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we've only got 5 races left to give you the coverage before we hand it back over to Pit Stop TV. We got tonight at Martinsville. We got Twin Ring Motegi, Michigan, before we head into the Chase, which the Chase, Zach, doesn't get very much easy. We start things off at Bristol, then Sonoma. That's when we're going to be handing things back over to Pit Stop. Well, they'll have Talladega, 08 Atlanta, before finishing off the season at Auto Club. So the end of the regular season and the end of the official season, sister tracks. I think that is a great way we're going to be seeing the season finish off here. Excited for July 14th when we head to Michigan. But tonight, Zach, practice, a minute left. We're seeing drivers getting that last little bit of practice in before qualifying. We know qualifying is going to be very important to set yourself up for this race.
It definitely is. And I think this track, more importantly than anything, right here in these last few moments of practice, at least as myself as a driver, I would really be trying to put down a few just, hot lap attempts, just because it gets you in the feel of the braking zone. Because when you go to drive the race here, in my opinion, you kind of drive a little differently. You back everything up. You drive a little bit easier just to be better on your equipment. But when you're in a qualifying lap here at Martinsville, it is all attack, and you have to get everything out of the braking zone. If you don't, you're more than likely going to be down that list in qualifying. So it is very important, I think, to get in that rhythm of pushing this car to the extreme limit here in these final few moments before that clock finally ticks away, and you got to run that 2 fastest laps you can try to put together for tonight.
Martinsville this evening, going to be 250 laps in total length. We will have a stage break. Stage break will be at the end of lap 75. No fast repair, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. But the big thing, I was talking with some of the drivers, the fuel window is where things can get tricky. When you come to Martinsville, you're not expecting there to be a lot of long green flag racing. We'll see how that transitions over, though, when we get to the racing action. But Gotta say, it certainly should be a good one overall because practice is coming to an end. It's about to be qualifying as the drivers get ready to place themselves. 21 have registered in. Who's going to take that top pole position? Let's find out. All drivers will be given 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap. 2 laps to do so, and if you touch the wall, get a little bit close to the inside over the curbing, you can find yourself invalidating your lap time. So it's all go to get up front and put down the speed as qualifying is getting underway. It's Carl Pooler in the 71 that will be starting things off.
From the looks of it, from a lot of what I've seen in practice, drivers did their fastest lap on the first one, actually. So maybe feeling that the cooler temps in the tires is what is going to equate to a little bit better speed. But we're seeing Carl on his first lap kind of take a little bit of a different approach there in 1 and 2, a little bit of a higher entry, cut down late into the arc of the corner. I think he's setting up for a second lap run. So we'll see what it's like for the 71 here on the first lap. But I think you're going to see others try to attempt that first speed on the big speed on the first lap also.
As Carl Pooler hoping to set the tone with a 20.295. Johnny Wood Jr. on the other side. First lap was his money time, a 19.685. What will the pickup be for the 71 across the line? Again, it was over a 20-second lap time for Carl Pooler. He drops it into the 19s with a 19.9. You better watch out. A couple of drivers are really finding good pace on the first lap. Johnny Wood Jr. still holding the pole, and it's William Maple Jr. finding some speed there on lap number 1 with a 19.7. But there's this fast man. There's the guy you picked, Zach. It's Dustin Stallings taking the pole position.
Great lap from him right around the curb all the way around for the lap, and that's how you got to create speed, of course. Is now we're going to Borbell jump up to 4th in the 2 machine as we watch the 23 of Brendan Maddox try to see where he could place himself as Coulter Clark, our point slayers, jumped up to 4th. Maddox now going to slide himself, I think, into the 2nd spot. So great, or actually top him, actually is top of the timing sheet.
Well, 1,000ths of a second was Brendan Maddox over Dustin Stallings. The Maverick Motorsports drivers swapping it back and forth for that front row position. Adam Buzzio, his time going to be set for 4th after his 2nd lap being completed. A couple of other drivers still out on track trying to set the faster time. Cameron Taylor currently on their 2nd lap of the running. Watch out for Joshua Parent, Scott Fritz, Eric Jensen, Jordan White. Still yet to put in a time as we are hitting the halfway point of qualifying. Over half the field's already finished qualifying already. Just showing how fast you can set these laps. As Scott Fritz, short tracks is where we've seen this 48 be pretty quick. Can he find some good speed here as he's setting up to finish lap number 1, head into lap number 2, exit of 4. Where will Fritz be landing? 17 have set a time, and the 48's first one, pretty solid. It's up to 3rd for Scott Fritz.
Very tidy around the curve through 3 and 4 there. That last time I really liked how that looked from him, and had the same feelings from Brendan Maddox. He was so tight to that inside red and white curb. That is the key. You got to put the left side tires right on the line, painted line right above that curb, because if you don't, you will not carry the speed around these corners. And they were doing a great job, but you can't hit it. As now we'll watch Jordan White, and this is going to be an interesting one for him. First lap was a 19.703. We'll see if there's any pickup here on this second one, Sam.
Where will the 83 be placing himself? 8th on the board currently. No one else putting down a time. It's just Jordan White and the Jamaican driver across the line. Good speed. Will it count? And yes, it will. Pull time for Jordan White in the 83 Nickelodeon's machine. He's got that speed, Zach. We know this 83 puts the practice in, and he proves he has the speed here to compete with the Maverick Motorsports drivers. Jordan, whole time here tonight. There's no one else setting a lap, so we will be the 83, and Brendan Maddox being the front row. Wow, what a time for himself. But now qualifying's over. It's now the resting period. Zach, 250 laps are in front of these drivers, 75 laps till the stage break. I was talking with a few. They said that fuel is not an issue for the stage, not surviving, and that has been the word of the week. How do you make it to the end and survive?
That's always the question, Martinsville, is how do you survive? I think that's got to be the first task. So we'll see what everybody plays out when this drops to the green flag. How much give and take will there be? That is the big thing that it comes down to short track racing like Martinsville. You can't just go out there and run every single lap like there's nobody in front of you like some of these intermediates. You can kind of run your own line every time. You're going to have to check up. You're going to have to move around. You're going to have to put yourself in situations that you probably don't want to. And that is going to be the key tonight, is give and take. So let's see how these drivers give and take, Sam, because if they don't, there will be plenty of yellows to come around.
Well, we also need to give thanks to the sponsors for Season 6 of the BRB Sundance Pro Series. First and foremost, we want to say thank you to Sundance Pizza, as well as MXWraps.com, Performance Food Services, going to be RevSimShop.com, Whiplash SimCams, and CC's Business for all supporting the BRB Sundance Pro Series and allowing these drivers to have fun out on track and allow us to give you the call up in the booth as the field is gritting up. It's time for us to get ready for 250 laps for the Quassel 250 at Martinsville Speedway. In the top spot, going to go to the 83 of Jordan White. What a last-second lap time for himself to steal it from Brendan Maddox. And the 23 that will start in second. Third will be the 00 of Dustin Stalling. That's going to be Zach's pick to watch out for here this evening, with the 48 of Scott Fritz in fourth. Johnny Wood Jr., the driver that won here back in Season 2. We'll see how well he can climb forward as he'll start in fifth. Sixth will be the 5 of Adam Buzzio. Your points leader entering this evening, it's the 4 of Coulter Clark, with William Maple Jr. in eighth. Ninth, we find Joshua Parent. And finishing out our top 10, it's the 42 of Cameron Taylor.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 2 of Steven Borbell as he's looking to make his climb into the top 12 in points. 12th is going to be Eric Jensen in the 99. 13th is going to be the 18 of Gray Walker. Carl Pooler is going to start in the 14th position. Ronnie Norman, a strong run last week at Kansas we saw. He's going to start back in 15th. 16th is going to be the 56 of Richard Wolsifer. 17th is going to be the 41 of Ben Kinney. The 81 of Evan Patinko going to start in 18th. 19th is going to be Zachary Maddox. Rounding out the top 20 is going to be Dakota Bly. And our last car in the field here, 21 cars, is Jacob Qualley.
As the drivers are ready for today's racing action, 250 laps in total. Stage break at the end of lap 75. So you'll be in the top 10 at that moment in time to get themselves prepared. But Martinsville, a track where drivers have gotten revenge, a track where drivers can find their way into victory lane with some dramatic moves. And that's been the talking point on top of survival, is how do you get by your competition? Do it as cleanly as possible, or do you have to use the chrome horn and do a little bit of a bump and run? A lot of practice has been made on figuring out how to save your tires, but it all comes together for tonight's running of the Quassel 250 at Martinsville. Thank you to everyone that's joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Race 11 is in the hands of Jordan White in the 83. Brendan Maddox lingering a little bit further back, but entering the restart zone. We are green, but Jordan does not go at all. It's going to be Sam Brendan Maddox who leads us down into turn number 1.
Oh, and a big stack there on the top line, too. That's going to put William Maple Jr. up into the dirty stuff, into the outside of the groove, and he's going to drop back a few spots as it might be a little bit of stack up farther back. But yeah, Jordan White, no drive there off the start.
No drive. A couple of drivers fading a little bit to the outside. That's going to be Cameron Taylor that loses over 4 positions, but up front, battling happening for 6th position. That's going to be seeing the 4 and 5 going back and forth for a quick second. With Zach already single filing out, which for most of the field, if you want long green flag racing, this is exactly what you want to see up front, but the mid to back half of the field are still side by side.
Common syndrome here at Martinsville. You'll get those, first few cars really single filed out quickly, but then from farther on back, it's a conveyor belt, outside, inside, every single car fighting to get to the bottom, and it just gets tougher the farther you go back. As you can see here, Pooler, he's fighting to get around Cameron Taylor. You got Richard Wolfsfer rolling the top there. He's going to get to the wall with Big Kenny on his inside, and that's what you fight sometimes here in Martinsville, trying to get the most run off the corner, but trying to stay out of the wall at the same time.
It looks like it will be a start and park for the 25 of Jacob Quayle. His night is already done. Ran 1 lap, sent it to pit road, has already left the server. So we're hoping to see the 25 back out on track next week as we head to Twin Ring Motegi. But tonight, it's already seeing up front, Brendan Maddox pulling away and looking strong in the 23 machine. The battling action I'm seeing right now. Oh, trouble in the back, and it's Ben Kinney who will go around for the 41 as they were exiting out of turn number 2. Trouble is strikes. Drivers already making apologies. It looks to be hard contact between the 41 and the 14.
believe, Zachary Maddox might have gave Mr. Ben Kinney a little bit of help there, and I think that was just a mistake. I think Ben's checking up due to Richard right in front of him, and that causes a stack up where I think Zachary's just not thinking that that's going to be, breaking that hard right there at that point in the corner. But it just becomes such an accordion effect here at Martinsville that's a very common syndrome that you have here, and that's kind of what you have to almost predict as a driver. You got to kind of look 3 or 4 cars ahead to kind of predict sometimes those stack ups on the entry. So just an unfortunate scene there, but luckily for Ben Kinney, nothing too majorly damage wise, just a spin around here, and we'll reset him.
You also got to give credit to Evan Patinko. What a great move to avoid the stopped vehicle by the 81 and able to drive on through. I know Evan Patinko, we forgot to give it a note on this. It was one stat that I kind of just glanced over and forgot about. Last week, Evan Patinko making his 100th BRB Pro Series start last week, and tonight making his 100th career start, Earl Pooler in the 71, 15th position. It's crazy to see that this league, I know we're in season 6, but some of the drivers that have been here for the longest are now hitting the 100 mark of starts.
That is awesome to see. I love the history that you can build up at some of these leagues. It becomes like a home for some of these guys, man, and that's awesome to see some people making 100 starts in leagues. That's a huge accomplishment to be around and just be out there for the competition each and every week. So great to see for BRB, great to see for all the drivers around.
Well, this is going to be a much more interesting start overall because Jordan White was the control vehicle under our initial start of this race, but did not get going. A little bit of a hesitation, and Maddox didn't hesitate when he was given the go, as we have been given the 1 to green icon, so everyone's stacking up, but Jordan White's going to be on the outside. Curious what the 83 is going to do here, if he's going to have a better launch knowing that he's not the control vehicle, or is he going to stall out even worse than he did initially?
That's a huge question. I think that had to just be either a mistake with gearing, maybe just up 1 gear than what he was expecting and kind of didn't get going. But we'll see this time how his launch is here in the restart zone, but this time it's controlled by the 23 on the inside.
Hugging each other, trying to keep it close as we enter the restart zone. The Quassel 250 is back underway and a much better launch for the inside row, but Jordan White caught sleeping again and might even lose second place as, trouble between the Maverick drivers. Dustin Stalling sees an opening to get underneath Brendan Maddox, but he'll fall back in line as Maddox cuts it up, but Jordan White tapped by Fritz, who then gets it to Stallings, and around they go in front of the field. It's a big stack up of the exit turn 4. Multiple contenders involved in this one.
Lots of good cars hurt in this. I mean, you got Johnny Wood Jr. there involved. Also, Scott Fritz, he took a huge hit in the 40. I think him and also Eric Jensen are going to be the ones who come out of this with the most damage, and maybe also Dustin Stallings.
Those little contact moments as someone has lost their front nose. It looked like Fritz might have gotten into Jordan White, who then slams into the 00. At that point, everyone is so stacked up, there's just nowhere to go. And luckily, no required damage because that was in one of the slower portions of the track. Those contacts not going to be as massive as they could be, but you can see here, Fritz, Jordan White, just miscommunication on the braking zones, and it's a massive pileup for everyone involved.
That's one of those wrecks and situations where if you're stalling, you're going, what are you doing, Jordan? But, it actually comes from a car behind Jordan, and again, it's just a stack up on entry where everybody's up close to each other. This driver checks up a little bit more than maybe the said driver behind him does, and it just leads to an accordion effect like this. This is just classic Martinsville incidents, and just a tough break there for Scott Fritz. I think, he's going to be the one. Same with Eric Jensen, who they're going to be sitting, I think, on pit road for a longer amount of time, and looks like Johnny Wood Jr. also doing the same, as these guys might start to go laps down here as the pace cars just coming around one here to put them a lap down.
Jensen will stay in pit road for sure, going to go 1 lap down. Norman, Johnny Wood Jr., Scott Fritz, Carl Pooler, as well as Dustin Stallings. Going to be getting a little bit of service done, as Stallings will be falling to the end of the line, but this is kind of shuffles a lot of drivers around. Listening in on if there's going to be a penalty or not given, as race control Rev is telling drivers what the scenario was. A little bit of a breakdown. And Zach, I think the hardest person who's going to have the job here tonight, not just the drivers, race control, on do you want to penalize drivers immediately with how quick these restarts are going to be and cautions to analyze a wreck, give the proper penalties to drivers. I think we're expecting a lot of these penalties to most likely be given post-race for going into next week's running, but no one given a penalty on that one. It looks like that will be a racing deal, and we'll see how these drivers get affected. As now, new driver up on the outside. That's Coulter Clark, our points leader, going to be side by side with Brennan Maddox. These two had a great duel last week, but let's see if they can survive this restart. Jordan White going to be back in third position as they take off and go. And it is all Clark and Maddox heading down into turn number 1.
Jordan White still struggling a little bit on those restarts. He was able to get gapped a little bit. That opened up the door for the 4 to fall in. Now Coulter Clark solidified up into second, but it's the battle here. Is William Maple Jr. on the inside here trying to fight his way past and find his way up to battle maybe Adam Buzzio, but it's Joshua Parent and Gray Walker behind her battling.
As you're also going to be seeing, it gets Cameron Taylor in the 42 on the outside, the 56 of Richard Wolsifer, and a couple of others trying to find their openings of where to go as Zachary Maddox and Stephen Borbell going side by side. And Keeney a little bit wide there as Richard Wolsifer gets loose off the exit of turn number 4. Going to lose a couple of spots there for himself. That's going to back him even further back in positioning. As Brennan Maddox, Coulter Clark, Jordan White, they are pulling away from the rest of the competition. It is all of this battling as Borbell gets into Zachary Maddox, who goes for a slide, a save. Everyone checks up, and we stay green as that will make them 3 wide, exiting out turn number 4. Puller falls in line. Well, what a contact move by the 2 and the 14.
Heavy contact there for sure, Sam. And that was really shoved the 14 in there big time. And he's also got a black flag with that. I think we should more likely get it clear for that because, yeah, I think he got sent across the pit entry line even. So that was wild scenes there, but great save, great gather up by even Carl Puller, who was stuck on the inside of the curbing, and he gathered it up. But, man, that could have definitely been another incident.
And again, we do have a stage break at the end of lap 75 that will throw a caution. Top 10 get bonus points. And Zach, that type of contacts can allow these races to go green for much longer as Evan Patinko as well. The drivers just outside of the top 10. I mean, it's 9th, 10th, and 11th having a run. It's Stallings trying to run down and catch up to Richard Wolsifer as Patinko looks a little bit off pace from the 81 compared to the competition around him.
He does, yeah. So we'll see how they can get around him as Stallings doing his best to climb his way back forward. And if I'm Patinko here, I'm just trying to be very, very careful on the outside here. Give guys plenty of room to where they're not going to run up onto him. And, I think a little contact on entry there between him and the 00 kind of shot him up the track there as he's going to lose a couple more spots as now Wood Jr. and Borbell going by.
Everyone trying to find their openings to get around Evan Patinko that continues to fall down the leaderboard. And this is some of the closest racing action on track. A little bit ahead of them, though, starting to see some other close battles, and that's for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Very fine. Parent, Walker, Taylor in line. And this is what you love to see from Martinsville. The fact that they accordion up, get so close to the apex of the corner, and then they spread out when you accelerate. And just showing all 3 of these drivers very close on time in the ways that they attack the corners. Very similar as well.
Definitely so, and that is something you're going to see a common trend here tonight at Martinsville is you'll run up with somebody that kind of drives exactly the same as you, and then you'll run into people who do different things. That's the kind of the beauty, in my opinion, of Martinsville. There's one really good way to hit the corner, but there's also like 10 different ways to make speed in the race, in my opinion, and especially set up passes. And that's what this flat track really has the beauty of is, opening up the corner, kind of diming it, cutting down. Look, that's what Gray Walker's doing there. He entered a little higher that time, tried to roll up the racetrack, kind of come back down the racetrack as they exit, and that just gives you that good straight launch. The quicker you can get that wheel straight, the quicker you're going to carry speed down that straightaway.
Well, this group better be careful. They are being caught as the 1 lap down driver of Scott Fritz is the only driver 1 lap down. Eric Jensen is 2 laps down. But for the 48, he's trying his best to try to stay at least just 1 lap down. Once the stage caution comes out, so he can get the lap back for himself. But with the 48 slowing down, it's starting to bring in the Richard Wolsifer as well as the Dustin Stallings into the mix. But up front, top 3, Zach within a half a second of one another. And the battle for second starting to heat up as the Nickelodeon's machine of Jordan White. He was not here last week. as he was having fun with graduating and was going through graduation ceremonies. Wasn't able to make it back home in time for the show-themed race at Kansas last week. So here tonight, he's showing off his Nickelodeon's machine, but a little bit of aggressive entry gonna hurt him off exit as Coulter Clark survives at least first round of attempts of passing.
See how Jourdain sets this up, and that's the key to Martinsville. You can be very quick, but when you get to somebody, if they're not really like making too many mistakes, it's actually very hard to pass. And the critical thing is, look what he's doing here. You see Jourdain drop immediately to the bottom. Jourdain's going to run about a half a groove up off the top, and then look, here's the exit. He's about a groove lower, and that is what he's trying to do. He's just trying to diamond the corner, get the straighter exit, make the straightaway longer. Again, the faster you get that wheel straight, the longer your straightaway is, and the more speed you can carry down these things. Is pretty much 2 drag strips with 2 hairpins, and that's where you kind of come into the factor of road course racers really performing well here, in my opinion, too. Like you brought up earlier, Sam, is it's all about the braking zone, and if anything you learn about road course racing, that is where you gain your time, and that's what you got to do here at Martinsville. And right now, Jourdain's trying to do a few different things where he's trying to make the difference now in the corner, and that is where it gets a little bit more difficult.
It's been fun to listen in to some of the drivers. I was listening in with Richard Wolfsburg and also Johnny Wood Jr.'s team as they were kind of analyzing at 6.5 Motors of what were the things they were looking for. Was it brake markers on track that they were looking for? Was it listening for a certain sound when the rev would chip out? Or was it something else when you wanted to brake a little bit harder than your competition? And there's a mixture of both, of drivers looking for brake markers, but also they were listening in on how their engine reacted at certain points of the track, and that was when they would hit the brakes.
That is very creative. I mean, you can use so many things. You can have markers, of course, on the wall. You can have different spots to fill it out, but it's all about the rhythm around here. And that's why I think sound becomes such a critical thing for drivers, is you hear, again, that motor winding down, winding up as every time you go into the corner and out of the corner. And you just get so used to that same sound. If you keep hitting that same lap over again, you get to that rhythm, and it's almost like you're one with the car around here. It's really, really a fantastic feeling. But right back here, this is where the dirty work is, though, Sam. It is back in the trenches, multiple cars stacked up on the inside, and that's where it gets difficult to kind of judge how far you can roll the center, how far you can drive into the corner.
And these are important positions for points. Cameron Taylor in the 42 machine, the deck of cards, is looking for a chance to stay in 10th because Cameron Taylor, 13th in points entering tonight, just coming in 1 point, actually tied with Dakota Bly for 13th. 1 point off of the top, and oh no, trouble up front. It's Coulter Clark and Jourdain White battling for second place. That wreck out of turn number 2.
Oh man, those two came to blows, and it happens here at Martinsville where people just keep racing each other really, really hard in the early going, and give and take becomes less give and more take, and that's when the problems come.
And you're going to see it. Jourdain White diving down into turn number 1. Coulter blocks the inside. Jourdain tries to carry the momentum on the outer groove. That's a good run, but off the exit they get together, and there's the hard blow between the two drivers. Luckily, no one else involved. That is a hard contact as Parent goes for an aggressive way to get around the Ford machine. But Zach, these are those moments off the exit of the corner where you just don't want to give up any position in time. But I mean, I don't know what either driver really could have done better there, except for just try to give each other more space.
Yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, everybody's got to do a little better job, I guess. There's no really like, well, this guy did this wrong, but I mean, if anything, you can say Jourdain, he really rolled the top well right there. I mean, look how high up the groove he is. Coulter's already a good bit off the groove, but at the same time, like, you're the car on the inside, you kind of decide that, and it's they kind of look like they just got stuck together. And sometimes that happens when you get these, right rears, left rears to the left front or right front of the car. They kind of get stuck together, and that seems like what happened there on the exit. And that is tough for those two because, again, they're running top 3 right there early in this race, and now going to have some heavy damage. And
we do have a first penalty of the race. Jourdain White going to get the drive-through penalty with that contact.
Well, I think Mr. Coulter Clark's not too happy with them. They're kind of playing a little bit of games down here in 3 and 4 on the pace lap. So definitely the 4, I think, not happy. You're going to see, yep, look right here. Yeah, that's just, leading into some retaliation. If I'm Coulter Clark, you got to play smart here because you don't want to get yourself in trouble. You're the points leader. I know the race kind of got destroyed now in this situation, but if anything, you're still out here making laps. Like, at least try to get back on the lead lap. Don't ruin your race and, take away from your chance of winning the regular season title.
And I know Coulter's got some enemies. There are some drivers out here that have not been very impressed with the way that he's been very aggressive. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the way that Coulter races. It's aggressive dive bomb moves that some drivers don't like the way that he races. And we're going to see this is going to be much tougher as we're going to extend this caution. But this is going to be a very tough climb for the Ford machine as well for the 83 on how do you get through this traffic, because Zach, we've been watching. It's tough to really make passes. The easiest time to do it is here in the early going, but that's the most riskiest part of these restarts.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, when everything's stacked up like this, it really, in my opinion, just takes a lot of patience from everybody. And that's where things become an issue. Everybody starts fighting for positions. It doesn't let kind of get strung out. You're not going to be able to bulldoze your way through here at Martinsville ever. If you're, a couple rows back, you're going to have to wait patiently sometimes and just sit there, because if not, issues are going to arise. And that's why I think in iRacing you see so many issues at these short tracks. People just get really impatient and they just don't understand the situation of you can't really go nowhere.
And looks like drivers a little bit confused. This was not an admin thrown extender for this running. I think it was because a couple of drivers were stopped at the time that we were getting ready to get the one to go. So we're kind of stuck in an infinite pacing window at this time, as this is helping. So the drivers are already inside of the top 10. So how this might help a few others. But Zach, with the timing of this caution, most of the field is not pitted, but half of the field just pitted for tires. Drivers to watch out for that just took a set. Zachary Maddox, Evan Patinko, and a few others taking a set of tires here that could help them hypothetically here on this restart. It's pace car into pit road. It's time for us to get back to green flag racing action. Again, stage break at the end of lap 75. Top 10 get bonus points. And it's time to see, do we survive to the end of lap 75, or do we need a caution? Green flag is back into the air. Jordan White in the 83 does have a drive-through penalty as Richard Wolstenberg gets into Parrott. Parrott tried to save it, but he goes down low. More contact is made. We're still green. Shockingly, no caution, and we continue to race on.
Wow, I've never seen that on iRacing. That's a new one. So, the car can get on the apron and there'll be no caution. So, unfortunate for Parent, but we stay green. And right now, Adam Buzzio trying to attack for second as Brendan Maddox is gone. As some other drivers caught some big contact there. I think Cameron Taylor might have caught a piece of all that, as we got a couple black flags people need to serve.
Dakota Black, one of those drivers that needs to find a way to get this penalty served. It looks like they will clear both penalties, as Jordan White is currently serving his drive-through penalty. With Zach, competition is raging on. Brendan Maddox, the one that really taking massive advantage, as Jordan White is back out on track, currently one lap down. Well, the 82 is gone. He's currently over a second ahead. The rest of the field is trying to find their footing here as we're on lap 46, as we've got ourselves just 30 laps to go on the stage.
Huge shout out to William Maple Jr. right now running second in that 12 machine. That is huge for him up front here. That is great to see, but definitely going to see if he can hold on to that as we get closer to that stage. But where it's all heating up is definitely around that Carl Poole region of around 8th to 9th there with Johnny Wood Jr., Stephen Corbell, Cameron Taylor. I think this, if anything, if we see some incidents, this is where it's going to be back in this group, as they are very stacked up so far.
We also have a driver that went into pit road. Coulter Clark looks to be trying to get all the damage repaired. Just the vehicle does not look right when he was trying to go at full song. So we'll settle back in as big sliding moves across the line. Throws off Carl Pooler, and Johnny Wood Jr. seeing an opening to try to get by the 71, but not a good enough exit out of the corner. Get back in line. And Zach, I think you're right. If we're going to see a caution, it might be here. Ex-teammates that once were a part of Limitless went their separate ways, as Johnny Wood Jr. stayed to work with Richard Wolsifer at 6.5 Motors. Carl moved on to Maverick Motorsports. And they got to be careful not to be making too much contact between the 71 and 75.
Definitely don't want to see any more incidents with these guys involved. There's some contact between Pooler and Maddox. He's going to check up, for Pooler. It's a respectful thing for him to let Maddox get it back gathered up. And now he's going to be under attack, though, from Wood on the outside. We'll see, can you roll the outside? That is going to be the question to see, can he make this pass? This is actually sometimes a preferable position to pass because you can kind of just pinch that guy down on the inside. And it looks like, if anything, Wood Jr. is going to clear here, and this is going to open the door for Borbell also, as Pooler went from trying to make the pass on Maddox, got into him and checked up, and now he's falling back as Maddox has made the mistake also, and Wood Jr. gets all of them.
And Zachary Maddox, you talked about the drivers from 12th to 18th in points just being a 9-point difference. Well, that driver that was 18th in points, that's Zachary Maddox, and he was hoping for big stage points, but it might not be the case as he is being pushed around, now in trouble, bounced out of the top 10, once was in 7th, now almost outside of the top 15.
Wow, that's so unfortunate for him. He had a huge lock up there after getting into the wall there in 4, and that kind of made things tough as he gets into the curb and has to gather it up, as now he's got Jordan White, and it looks like Ben Kinney right behind him. So we'll see how he can gather this up, because it looks like that curb and him not being friends right now, as he's made a few contacts to it, and I think it'll really upset the car.
You really would. Update on some of the other drivers further on back. Shockingly, I wasn't expecting him to leave out. I know he went for a spin, but was still in the lead lap. But Joshua Parent pulls it into pit road and has called it a night after his spin that did not bring out a caution. 22 Roberts pick, not going to be in victory lane here tonight, but certainly was a driver of note here in stage 1.
Definitely so far, the drivers we've picked tonight have had some turbulence on the racetrack for sure. So that is an unfortunate sight for them to see, but we'll see how the at least other 2 drivers that we picked here tonight, Jordan White and Dustin Stallings, can gather back up as we ride on board here with Ronnie Norman, as he's caught up to Richard Wolsifer, but Richard Wolsifer's also caught up to Gray Walker, and you can see right there a really loose rear end on the 56. Here comes the move from the 17 to the inside off of 2. Will he have enough room here to get to the inside in 3? And Wolsifer closes the door and says, "You're not taking my inside," just like that.
And Richard Wolsifer 17th in points, and he was hoping that last week at Kansas was going to be a big day. Got caught up with a wreck with Coulter Clark that threw away a big points day, as so many drivers were missing from last week. And for Richard Wolsifer, this points battle for 5th place, these bonus points are so crucial. He is defending for everything, and honestly, the main reason we're seeing a lot of this 56 getting loose is because he's locking it up on entry, just trying to match what the 18 is on speed on entry, but it's hurting him off the exit, just sliding a little bit too far, and that's what's giving it the opening for Ronnie Norman.
Definitely getting really deep into the corner, and that's allowed Norman to definitely back it up a little bit, roll the center, and get alongside. Is now fully alongside as Norman. And yet, like you said, these are so important of points here for Richard, and that's kind of, I think, why he's got that sense of urgency and driving as hard as we've seen here these past few weeks. He knows it is the time is ticking away for him to get back into that top 12, and after that disconnect at Rockingham, had to be deflating. But if anything, he just has got to get back on consistent form. And if you never know, if 3 races of consistent form, some good stage points, with how close everything is, he'll be right back in it.
And with the fact that Kyle Clank isn't here, we're going to see a new driver take over that 12th place position. The question is, who will be that driver that's battling between Evan Patinko and Dustin Stallings? Underway, this is for 10th place. Patinko, one of those drivers that is in the chance of being a driver that could take that 12th place position heading into Twin Ring Motegi next week, as Patinko 16th in points and currently holding back Stallings for 10th place. But for how long will this 00 let this battle go on? And doesn't look like it is for very much longer. A little bit of a tap, but the 00 gets through, and Stallings will take over 10th place position. As we were watching that, Ronnie Norman was able to get by Richard Wolsifer as well as Gray Walker. The 17 now in 4th place. Run down William Maple Jr. But Zach, we're closing in on almost 10 laps to go before the stage is over.
And it's been an excellent stage for our leader, Brendan Maddox. What a job the 23 has done after a win last week. He has been so smooth out front. I've watched him. He's, here and there missed his marks a few times. That's going to happen in Martinsville. You're going to overshoot the corner a little bit, slide up, miss your mark a little bit, but it's how you recover, how you consistently get back into form. And what I've watched from him, he's just really smooth and consistent. And, Buzzio will be quicker here and there a few laps, and Buzzio is also very consistent too, but it just seems like Maddox a little bit more consistent when it comes to that, and that's what allowed him to slowly eke this gap out to this point.
And just trying to build it bigger and bigger each lap. And hoping the competition behind will stay clean and green. Now, the BRB Sundance Pro Series does run a practice race the day before on Monday nights. A little bit shorter of a race, kind of give drivers a chance to get a feel of the car and race some of their competition. It was a much smaller field, only about, they said 7 to 9 drivers showing up. And I was curious of how that race went. I was talking with some of the drivers. They said it was actually kind of boring. It was similar to what we're seeing right now. Drivers in line, a lot of spaced out. And I'm curious, Zach, with this upcoming stage break, top 10 going to get those bonus points with a restart. How will they survive that? Because every restart we've had, somebody's getting pushed around, if not wrecked, going into turn 1 or turn 3.
And on fresh tires, everybody's going to have you with that much more sense of urgency, because a lot of these guys have waited to take a set of tires here and, been pretty patient on pitting in this first 75 laps of this stage. And I think that's going to play off well for them. But again, when everybody gets back on new tires and reset here and put back together into the group, it is going to be very much, once again, a little bit of push and shove. And I think that's going to be the big thing to see who can survive through that. Again, I mean, Maddox, I've talked about how great old 90's had so far. All it takes is one simple slip up from him on a restart under a pit stop, lose some track position, and you get caught up in a mess here at Martinsville before you know it.
William Maple Jr. entering tonight only had 1 stage bonus point, and he could be getting some big ones here this evening. 23rd in points, kind of needs a historic charge to make the chase, but this has been probably one of the 12's best running races besides the super speedways. You gotta love this from William Maple Jr. Gets past for 3rd. Will be running 4th currently as the laps tick away. About to be 5 laps to go. And looking at most of the competition, top 10 look to be staying where they're at. But here's a battle for position between Johnny Wood Jr. and Stephen Borbell as they're challenging on who's going to get 7th at the end of the stage.
I got a huge report on this too. Jordan White engine expired for him there on lap 64 back. So he is out of this race, and that is a huge ordeal for him. But now Borbell putting the pressure on Wood Jr. and Borbell needs points too, man. He really needs to push himself farther up the standings and wants to get right in the mix.
Wants to get back to the real tone-setting racing that we were seeing from the 2 last season. Was one of the most consistent drivers at the end as battling for the top spot. Really, there is no question about it. It's Brendan Maddox that looks good. Everyone else running pretty stable on where they're at. But Zach, the interesting note that we really haven't talked about, lap traffic is starting to become a factor for our leaders as they're seeing the competition getting into their windows, but the laps are almost done. The question for Brendan Maddox is, do you want to force the issue and put these guys a lap down, or do you want to stay behind and play a little bit nice here as Adam Buzzio is still a little bit under a 2.5 back?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Yeah, I think maybe you're going to play a little nicer, especially with his brother right ahead of him. You never know. But, I mean, again, you never know with these situations, but we'll see how he does here at the last lap of this stage as they've come to start lap 75. Only 1 to go here in this stage.
Brendan Maddox hitting his marks. Got the lead on lap 1, turn 1, after Jordan White missing a gear, missing to go forward. But the 23 never gave it away. He's led every lap so far in stage 1 and will win stage 1 here at the Quaskill 250 from Martinsville Speedway. Congratulations to the 23 team. And might as well find yourself sponsoring the race. Might as well win the stage. Why not try to win the race as well, as this is going to be a very important pit stop. Tires, fuel, and can you get a good launch for the 23?
That's going to be very important, like you said, Sam. It's got to be, mistake-free here. No pushing of the mile per hour here. Don't try to cut the corner too much and make the speed difference. It can really catch you out here at Martinsville sometimes. So we'll see what Maddox is able to do. You got to get in that box nice and good if you want to have a straight way out.
As into pit road is most of the field. A couple of drivers going to have to back up just for a quick second. But once these pit stops are done, we'll bring up the 23 from Maverick Motorsports of Brendan Maddox. Get his thoughts on the first stage. As exiting pit road, Adam Buzzio was hoping to get a better launch for himself, but much cleaner takeoff going to be for Brendan Maddox. But driver staying out, I don't think for long. Going to be Scott Fritz, going to get his service done as Lucky Dog does go to the 48. Well, Maddox is getting his service done, and it is over with. Let's see if we can try to bring up and talk with the driver of the 23 and get his thoughts on today's running. Your stage winner is the 23 of Brendan Maddox. Brendan, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. I know it's going to be a quick interview, but congratulations on winning the stage. How are you feeling with this car and track so far?
I definitely do not think I'm the fastest guy out here. Some other guys have had some bad luck, and I know Coulter got hit by Jourdain, and Dustin got run over as well from, I don't know, was it Scott getting into Jourdain or something like that? So I think even some of these guys behind me, Ronnie in particular, is faster. So just going to try to hang on for the best finish that I can here.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you. We'll ask one really quick one. Are you concerned with any of the competition behind you, or do you feel pretty good on this restart?
I'd have to say Ronnie, Richards back there. I don't know what he's like. Steven's back there. Dustin, I think he's still got some speed. So Adam, I think, has speed. And then William, I'm not really concerned about right now.
All right, well, good luck out there. As we will send to hit Brendan Maddox back to his team, because we're back to green flag racing. It's Maddox, Buzzio entering the restart zone. The Quaxel 250 is back underway for the 23 and the rest of the team, and he is already a car length ahead over Buzzio and the rest of the field trying to find their footing as they exit at turn number 2. Who will make the diving move? Who will misjudge? And it's Zachary Maddox further on back with a big wiggle, but Zach down in turn number 3. Honestly, this is pretty stable compared to what maybe could have been happening.
Everybody doing a good job right now from what I'm watching. Everybody kind of giving a little bit of room on entry. You know, that's the key to Martinsville. You can't just pack it in there every time. You got to be able to be patient, and everybody looks to be that way for the time being. And I think they've realized that, you know, once it gets single filed out, if I'm quicker, I will find a way around. Yes, it is tough to pass, but if you're quicker, you will find that way, in my opinion. You just keep the pressure on.
And seeing some drivers that are marching forward. Ronnie Norman's been looking good on the 17 with the way that he was able to pass drivers under green flag conditions. Curious for this battle, though, the 12 of William Maple Jr. and the 56 of Richard Wilsifer. What will Richard try to do here on this running of green flag racing? Because there is no more stage breaks. Stage breaks are over. It's all about racing it to the end of our 250 laps. And Zach, I mean, this is, oh, never mind, caution trouble. And it's Ben Keeney going around once again with Evan Patinko involved.
Oh, no, 2 of these guys involved back here. And that's tough to see as they were going to be looking to have some good runs here tonight, especially with, you know, the field starting to see some guys dropping out, and we'll see exactly what happens. But I think it's going to be just another classic Martinsville stack up right there in the center of the corner. But we'll see here as it happens down here in 1 and 2. So Ben Kinney driving off into turn number 1, but you're going to see that's the 91 there, Evan Patinko. And yeah, just I think Kinney not expecting the 91 to kind of close the door there, and that was all it took is the 81 was around.
I mean, it's also re-looking at it. I think Ben might have gotten spooked with seeing the driver behind as Scott Fritz also kind of bearing down on top of the 81, checking up with the drivers in front. And we also saw a slight setup of this through 3 and 4 because Evan Patinko did make almost contact with Johnny Wood Jr. ahead of them. Before that, looking back, there's the contact, the spin, and another caution is thrown for this evening, and it sets up another chance of a restart for Adam Buzzio. Ronnie Norman out of the attack and go forward as Ben Keeney will get his first penalty of the evening. That is a drive-through penalty for the 41.
It's going to be tough for him there. That's going to drop him, you know, definitely a lap down, and that'll put him outside the top 15 for the time being. But as we ride on board here with Brendan Maddox under caution, what another excellent job from him. Just getting a good restart. You heard he sounded like he was concerned and didn't feel like he was the fastest car. And that kind of that interests me because at least from what I watched, he was definitely very, very quick there. I think more or less he lost a lot of time there just letting those guys make sure not to put him a lap down. But more or less, I think it's 23. He's been so far the class of the field in my opinion.
Well, he's also had the clean air. He's been the driver in control throughout every restart, basically. I know he didn't have the actual control in the initial start of the race, as our pole sitter of Jourdain White is officially out of the running. Same for Joshua Parent and Jacob Quayle, those 3 drivers officially out of this thing. We have 2 drivers a lap down. Eric Jensen, 6 laps down after he was getting damage repair after our first caution, and Coulter Clark, 20 laps down after getting all of their repairs done under green flag running. But I'm curious for Maddox if maybe there was a little bit of concern with the fact of if there is lap traffic. The 23 really hasn't had any practice of getting through some of these slower drivers. We'll see how well, if we're able to get to that point of racing. Can we keep it clean and green, or do we have another big one underneath us, as we still have over 100 plus laps to go? The field is set, and it's time to go green as the 23 is already gone, and Maddox just has these restarts down. I don't know if he's got a different gear than everyone else, but he has gotten it figured out.
He's definitely nailing the restarts, and that is something you can do here at Martinsville, in my opinion. It's actually a place where I think it is so critical to get those timed, because if that driver on second does time it well and he can stay to the outside of you, it is not easy to hold a driver off sometimes when on that outside right rear quarter panel. So we'll see if that happens. Maybe some time later somebody will time it, but so far he's been lights out as Maple Jr. under attack. Walsifer, Stallings, multiple drivers looking to find their way through.
Man, this is just fun to see Maple Jr. running so well up front as Richard Wolfsford will move into fourth. Now the fifth place battle, contact made between the 12 and the 00 as Stallings trying to find an opening to get around Maple Jr. does not want to think about battling for long as Stallings dies down once again. And Zach, I mean, there's certain drivers that you look around and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm just naturally faster than them. You kind of race those drivers a little bit more aggressively because you feel like they're just going to naturally give me the space. Maple Jr. is fighting back even with the Stallings dive bomb moves.
Sometimes that can be a factor for sure. You know, drivers will drive just differently based on, you know, normally where you're placed position wise. But Maple Jr., I mean, he has been lights out tonight. He has been a top 5 car, and he's kept it up here pretty much from the majority of the time. So he is definitely meant to be up here at the moment, and I love seeing him up here at this time as we ride on board with Borbell, who is right behind Stallings in that 12 of William Maple Jr. So he's watching the battle we were just speaking about.
The back and forth, where can you find some of your openings to go for these passes? As we're watching the competition all around, as Steven Borbell up 4 spots from where he qualified. Your biggest movers is Ronnie Norman up 13 and Richard Wolfsford up 12 from where they started. But even gaining just a handful of spots is difficult to do here at Martinsville, as Carl Pooler in the 71 lingering back in 10th place as he's under fire from Scott Fritz, who's back on the lead lap and showing he does not want to just settle outside of the top 10.
That's for sure. And Scott, like we've talked about before, he is a short track ace in my opinion. And I think as his car gets more fixed up from the earlier wreck, it's still got a little bit of hurt to the nose. I think the more he gets it fixed up, the better it'll get. And luckily for Martinsville also for him, not the track that really relies on the most aero. So it's more or less mechanical grip that you rely on. And I think he's going to definitely be able to work his way forward. We've seen how good he's been at short tracks in the past.
As drivers up front starting to close in the gap, there's going to be lap car Ben Kinney after serving his drive-through penalty for the second time. He was caught with speeding on entry that forced him to go for another drive-through. You can see that for the 41 that is currently 5 laps down because of the multiple issues. But looking at some of the competition that is further on back, here is the 88 machine, the Sheets 88 of Dakota Bly, and Zach, a driver that could sneak his way into the top 12. And we've seen some of the competition ahead of him have a bad day today as Dakota runs 15th, but we know he is settling and waiting to see the competition wipe each other out.
Oh, no doubt for sure. We know Dakota. He is definitely just waiting for his opportunity to put himself in a better position here later and trying to miss the mess. So got that win at Iowa with the great strategy of the fuel mileage, and we'll see how that is able to help him points wise when it gets closer down to the end here. But he's definitely taken some improvements tonight with some people's issues here and people also missing the races. Right now we're looking on from the back bumper, I believe, of Adam Buzzio back to Richard Wolfsford. So Buzzio running top 3 at the moment, and Wolfsford, he's done a good job, man. He's got himself up into the top 5 now and has kind of solidified himself there.
Has had a couple of moments where, you know, you're concerned for Richard Wolfsford as he's had that rear end kind of slip up behind him. Curious on how he might change that up moving forward. I know there's a couple of options with a fixed setup league. There's only a small things that you can change, but I heard a lot about brake bias. And Zach, I know brake bias is a tool that a lot of drivers like to utilize.
Definitely here at Martinsville. I think more or less than any track, you're going to want your brake bias dialed in for this one. And as a driver, it's really on preference, how you want the car to feel in entry. And, you know, a lot of times I will say a lot of drivers, to get the most out of the car mostly, you want to have as much rear brake as you can deal with. And what I mean by that is you want to have the percentage-wise to the rear brake higher than what you would be in the front. And it just allows the car to rotate on entry and make passes, and it just makes everything easier. But if you want a little bit more stable car on entry, you can dial some front brake into it too. So it kind of goes both ways, as drivers are very critical in nailing that brake bias if you want to have your car drive just how you want it.
Which it sounded like tonight, very fine tune on what you're looking for. The default brake bias number is 65 with the ARCA car. Here in some drivers, they were bumping up to 66. Some were thinking 67. I know some were testing below that, but the car didn't feel stable throughout a long green flag run. So I've been seeing some drivers evolving and seeing that brake move throughout a race and being a little bit fluid on what you're feeling from one corner to the next. As some of the drivers out on track get a little bit of vocal, trying to distract maybe one another, trying to maybe awaken themselves. We're still 105 laps completed, but there is still a lot of racing. There's no stage break, absolutely no caution's going to come out. And Zach, due to the fact that we're running 250 laps, this is a long race these drivers have to deal with.
No doubt, yeah. This gets to be a long run here, if anything. If we can stay green for the majority of it and go through a green flag pit stop sequence at Martinsville, that would be amazing to see first off. But man, they got to stay in rhythm, and you know that's the biggest thing here under a green flag. You just got to hit your marks each and every lap. It really helps for the tires not only, but it also helps for that consistency of the lap time. So we'll see how that all plays out. But right now, Coulter Clark still, I believe, 20 laps down after getting that damage repaired. Had to get it done. And that suspension was just so broken that he really couldn't turn any laps, even if it allowed him to.
As you're seeing, 20 lap down driver Coulter Clark getting mixy with top 10 running driver of Carl Pooler, which alliance drivers between one another of Carl Pooler, part of Maverick Motorsports. And then you also have the running of Blackbird Motorsports, Coulter Clark, Gray Walker, Cameron Taylor. They're kind of what they call the B team of Maverick, the kids that grouped up together that once were a part of the Accelerate team and now had to find a new home. As Gray Walker currently running in 8th place. And Gray Walker, I think, was one of those drivers we expected a couple of seasons back that he might grow in to where we're seeing Coulter Clark at. Really hasn't kind of grown into that driver as much, but the consistency is still there for the 18. Maybe not as showy, not really challenging with the fastest laps all the time, but 5 top 10s so far this season. One of the better on that stat. Gotta love that from the 18, but still looking for his first top 5 of the season.
Definitely so. I mean, Gray, he almost had some really breakthrough moments last season, almost won. And, I expected him to have a really, really breakout season this season and get back into victory lane possibly, but had a few hiccups here and there, and it's unfortunately took him out of contention a few times. And tonight having a decent run and going to have an opportunity possibly to get a top 5. So we'll see how it all plays out, because right now he's got the likes of Cameron Taylor still behind him, and also Carl Pooler, who got Coulter Clark kind of right up his tailpipes too. So it's been fun to see a few of these guys who need good runs getting them here tonight at Martinsville. It's such a tough racetrack.
We're going to hop on board the 00 of Dustin Stallings and Richard Wolsifer. I think if you see Richard Wolsifer near any Maverick Motorsports driver at this track, you got to be slightly concerned on where will Richard place himself. I know he is dead to me and a few other drivers. You got to race your competition differently. You've had some beefs that maybe have grown throughout multiple seasons. And I'm curious for Stalling and Richard, are they going to play nice? We're still not even at the halfway point of this race. How aggressive are you willing to fight for this positioning? As Stallings, great exit out of turn number 4, sets up to go into the inside. Richard trying to pinch down. Let's hold this spot as much as possible. Exited 2, still side by side behind them though. A little bit of dual drifting from Maple Jr. and Borbell, as Stallings and Richard Wolsifer continue to battle, and it's the 56 holding strong for now.
Yeah, the 0 lost the rear end there on the entry of the corner. They actually made contact. Both went up out the groove, and they had to regather back up. So the contact was there between the 0 and the 56, but just a slight mistake on the end of the Stallings part there trying to make that pass. And it's tough on the inside line when you're trying to dive it up the inside there. You got to kind of make the line a little shallower, and it just makes everything that much more difficult. As this battle has been fun to watch with Stallings. You know, he's been rolling the top, cutting down here, trying to get the run on Richard. Will have another opportunity down here in the 3. Kind of the same thing that's playing out with our leaders right now. Ronnie Norman is caught up to Maddox, but he just keeps, you know, rolling the top, giving that peak to the top to let Maddox say, hey, you know, this guy is definitely making him look in the mirror. And that's, I think it's a big thing when you move around here at Martinsville. You at least make that driver in the mirror kind of look and see, what is he doing?
Yeah, I mean, constantly playing a game of chess while also trying to hope that you don't make a mistake is going on. But Ronnie Norman has been the faster driver overall, and he is trying to find an opening to get around the 23 that is defending the inside with everything he's got. But are you willing to burn off the tires and throw away this run? We're about halfway through this stint, expecting the fuel to go around 95 to 98 laps based on how you utilize your shifting, if you're shifting or not. And update on the battle for 4th. Dustin Stallings has been able to get by Richard Wolsifer, but the battle for the lead, as you've been seeing, Maddox defending still strong.
I think that Maddox is doing really good in my opinion. He's just keeping it around the bottom. Like, you know, a lot of times where you make mistakes at Martinsville is going to overdrive the corner, trying to carry too much speed, and that just makes running the bottom where you have to slow up so much in the center that you just don't roll the center with speed. And what Maddox is doing is he's just making sure he doesn't overdrive the entry, keeping it nice and tightly to the curb. And that's making it tough on Norman at least, because Maddox is still getting a good drive up off the corner because he's not overdriving that center, not really pushing the nose off the corner exit. And that's critical. But Norman, I mean, he has definitely got some great pace because he's looking left, he's looking right, he's trying to find any way around this 23 at the moment. And at some point, I think Maddox is going to be in a tough spot. And here it comes,
here we go.
17 to the inside.
Not waiting for long, and the main reason why, we've got some lap traffic that's about to close in. Huge pinch by the 23. Maddox does not want to lose this top position, but lap cars weren't playing a factor during the stage racing, but they could play a factor here for stage number 2 and racing to the end. There's at least one pit stop that needs to be made before this race is over, but Zach, looking at the opportunities, Ronnie looks strong, but the passing still not there as a block by the 23 forces Norman to the outside.
The 23 is doing some good defending, but I tell you, man, he gave a lot of leeway, or not a lot of leeway there to the 17 to make a mistake when he was last inside of him. I mean, he was pretty much touching the curb while pinching him down. So got to watch out for that. You know, some drivers will make that mistake slip up, and next thing you know, you go from battling for the lead if you're Brandon Maddox and dominating this race to not just second, but way back because you're spun. So, yeah, you know, you really want to defend hard, but sometimes you put yourself in a sticky, precarious situation when you defend, or, you know, hold a driver down a little bit too tight.
And lap car going to be going wide, forcing Maddox to go low, and Ronnie now in a tricky pickle of, do you want to continue running? And it's going to be Dakota Bly running high, getting out of the way, does not want to force an issue, and it's actually going to help Norman poke a nose ahead, and Maddox dives it deep, practically slides his way to the inside, and it gives Norman the space, the 17 to the top spot, and try to pull away.
What a pass from Ronnie Norman. He saw the opportunity in the 23, shallow in the entry, shallow into the center. That allowed the 17 to roll the center on top. And once you get to the quarter panel of a driver, especially up off the exit, they literally lose all their drive up off the corner because they just don't have the room.
Zachary Maddox, he doesn't get out of the way. He dives it down low, holding back the 17. And that's what I was kind of expecting to see. How much was Zachary Maddox going to hold off Ronnie? And instead, he'll actually hurt his brother on the entry of 1.
And right there, trying to fight to stay on that lead lap, and just unfortunately not going to be able to do it this time for the 14 of Maddox. So he's now going to fall a lap down, be our first car for the time being, 1 lap down, and he'll have to fight for that lucky dog. Is now, look at this. This has brought Buzzio into the playing field, and Dustin Stallings not too far behind. He's only 2.5 seconds back from this battle.
And will Zachary Maddox get out of the way for Adam Buzzio, or Buzzio got to be forced to go on the outside of the 14? as the battling continues to ramp up. Ronnie Norman, clean air now, a little bit of space to work with, is starting to pull away from the 23, which was the worry when we interviewed Brendan Maddox after winning the stage. He didn't sound very confident, Zach, and he's showing why. Ronnie Norman is quick now with the lead position.
I mean, he read that better than I did. I mean, Norman came from so far back. I was unsure with looking at his pit stop times and stuff. I wasn't sure if he took tires earlier, but don't think he did. He just was slowly coming through the field, maybe had some damage to repair, but he showed why he was able to work through. And man, Norman up front right now trying to drive away from everybody. As we look back here to Moorbell, he's trying to find his way up to the top 5. He's got Wolfsfer right ahead of him.
And other drivers that are currently side-by-side battling for position, the top 10 having a good 3-horse battle between Cameron Taylor, Scott Fritz, and Johnny Wood Jr. As Fritz not able to succeed with the speed, it's going to be given to the 75, able to get by, and the teammates will swap. We'll see how Johnny Wood Jr. can try to climb his way forward. Again, Johnny Wood Jr., winner here at Martinsville back in season 2. Now, that was back when they were running the next gen. That was a few years ago since they ran here last. Over 24 cautions under that race. And crazy to say, we're now officially into the second half of the Classel 250 here this evening. And if you're just joining us, let's bring up the race report and get a sense of what it's been like so far this season to get the fan cam, getting a sense of what it's like out there. But Zach, I mean, 5 cautions in total. We've had a couple of lead changes, but overall, this has been a very clean Martinsville race than what a lot of people probably expected. I think most expected to this point, maybe have 10 plus cautions over this duration of laps.
That's for sure. I mean, 5 cautions. One of them is a stage too. Like, you gotta equate that. So really only 4 cautions for yellow, and that is excellent. I mean, when you come to Martinsville, like you said, you expect almost double digit here every single time with some of these racing leagues out there. But BRB's different, man. These guys do race aggressive. They put it all on the line. Everybody's out here full of emotion, but they're able to really race hard and not stay out of wrecking each other sometimes. It's really impressive.
And here's one of the factors that might be making the track a little bit more difficult for the field. Air temperature, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp, 112 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind is on the low end, so that's helping the field out. But this track temp, quite a difficult factor to take control of, especially on a hard braking zone like we have here at Martinsville, and the tire usage we're seeing so far this evening.
It is definitely more fall than I was expecting. With the lower horsepower in the ARCA car, I was expecting it to kind of not really have, the major fall off that we've seen maybe from the Gen 6 previously back in the day here with the Martinsville scene. But right now we're seeing upwards of about, 6 to 8 tenths of fall off already. And, that's a good amount there for about 63 laps into the stint, even with this car.
Well, both Maddox brothers under battles. Currently the battle for third. Adam Buzzio trying to get by second place runner up Brendan Maddox. And then you also have Zachary Maddox in the 14 and the 88 of Dakota Bly that were having their own mixture, battling for who's going to be the first driver one lap down. As these two of Brendan Maddox and Adam Buzzio fight, they're also starting to track in the 00 of Dustin Stallings into this mixture. As you can see, that amp energy girl dad machine trying to find a way to get into the fighting action for second and third, as Dustin's gone for his slides, spin outs. Been a rough evening, but he is closing in very quickly.
That he is. This has been a great run for him. He's really been consistent the last 10 laps. So watch the lap times. He's, if not quicker than our leader sometimes, matching our leader. So he is the driver. I think if you're Norman, you may have to have thoughts about this 00 at some point. He is definitely the driver that is pacing with you, but got to give credit to Buzzio and Maddox. They've done a great job, but I tell you what, if you're Buzzio, you want to try to get around him because that 00 is coming quickly, and Maddox isn't going to fight the Stallings too hard. So if you don't get around him quick here, and you get around him right before Stallings gets there, it's not going to be too much time before that 00 is right there also.
As the 99 of Eric Jensen, going to stay high, let the competition race on. Been a fun one overall of drivers searching for speed. Been a lot of looseness off the exit of the corners, trying to find a way to get a better exit out. Some drivers are downshifting, some are staying in fourth gear. We're closing in on 100 laps to go here this evening. And there's Adam Buzzio putting a lot more pressure on the back bumper of Brennan Maddox. And Maddox and Buzzio are over the radio for the driver's comm, interacting with one another. And I'm curious if that's distracting Buzzio, because Stallings is now here within half a second. He is in the picture. He's in the shot. It's a 3-horse race for second place.
And Stallings too. I mean, a 20-28 that last time by. Norman's been in the 3s and the 4s. So if he can run 20.2s, Stallings will be a factor at least at some point in this whole scene, because again, these drivers are not going to be able to go all the way to the end of this race without having the pit.
And pit stops are expected here in the next about 25 to around 28 laps. So there is still a window of good, clean racing if it can stay green, and opportunities to make passes before those pit stops happen overall, which I think green flag pit stops, I don't know how many guys really practice that. I don't think you really do practice green flag pit stops at Martinsville, because you're expecting so many cautions, and for it to not stay this green, you hope for maybe a 20 lap, a 30 lap run is crazy to think about of green flag racing. These guys have been cleaning green for over 70 laps so far. This has been incredible to watch.
Well, I'll tell you, if you had the over-under on green flag pit stops, you definitely were probably taking the under for it. But you know, hey, if we get that one green flag stop here tonight, that is going to be something. I don't even know if I've even commentated before where a league's gotten to a green flag stop at Martinsville. So that is impressive to see. As Maddox gathering it up, is Buzzio having to try to drive to the outside. We'll see if he has the ability here to do it, but Maddox is doing a great job of gathering that thing as the rear tires seem gone.
There he is once again, Buzzio putting the pressure on the rear bumper, and a huge save. And honestly, because Brennan Maddox had to save it all the way down the inside wall, kind of a block in a way, even though the car looked out of control. A good run from the 23 so far, still defending, still holding back. And now Stallings could be a threat to the 5 machine, because that could have been your final opportunity if you're Adam Buzzio to make a pass and not worry about the 00 behind you, because he's within 3/10. The gap, equal distance between the 23 to the 5 to the 00. As they head down into these corners, it's who can find the better exit. And currently, Stallings has been the key factor to do so.
Definitely been a factor of climbing up here for sure on the back bumper of these drivers now to put the pressure on. His Buzzio. He's had time, he's had the ability and had the speed, it looks like, to get around this 23, but just hasn't been able to do it. And you know, as this has all been going on, all the action, Norman's not really getting away. I mean, he was about 1.2, 1.3 ahead of him when we all saw those big slides. It's again right about the same there. And I mean, if anything, Norman still has to keep putting great laps together here to continue to open that gap, because when we get new tires, it's going to kind of reset the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we were kind of commentating the battle for second, it kind of seemed like Ronnie Norman was on the complete other side of the track. But as you're seeing those shots, I mean, it is a half a straightaway. Everyone can see the leader that is in our top 4. They know just one mistake could be costly, and it could be the pit stops that are now within just 15 laps. And we could be seeing one of our first stops of the night, which, I mean, Zach, technically the pit window for some of these drivers will open up within the next 4 to 3 laps. And now the question would loom of, is it more rewarding to pit and be the undercut over those that pit later on?
That is going to be the huge question, Sam. I mean, like looking at it right here, lap time wise, you kind of get to about a 20.3, 20.2, 20.4, at least for our top 4 or 5 cars. And you kind of just eve it out there. And then it's just really about consistently, if you can keep putting that lap together. So that does make me question, an undercut could be very valuable here, because you're not seeing that continuous fall off and drop off where, you know, that tire, if you pit later, is going to have a continuous advantage. That advantage will disappear at some point. So these drivers are going to have to do the math in their head. They're going to have to figure out the right time, because it is definitely, I think, could be a critical situation, especially when it comes to, we've seen passing tough. Buzzio hasn't been able to get around any, you know, around the 23 there. Stallings, since he's called him, is kind of stalled out. So it is very important to get track position, and that pit stop could be the way to do it. But the thing you risk as we watch this is if a yellow comes out with the racing we got back here, you pit, you're going multiple laps down.
And I know if I'm Dakota Bly, I'm frustrated. You've been battling just a one-on-one duel between yourself and Zachary Maddox for most of this green flag run, and the driver that's 20 laps down is trying to get by you, on top of having the guys that are just inside of our top 10 are trying to get around. There's no real clean pass, but Dakota and Zachary Maddox, that battle might have been snuffed out just because of that one move as Maddox stays high, and it's going to let Coulter Clark on through. Also going to be seeing Gray Walker trying to find an opening for the 18, and just seeing drivers from 7th back to 9th, all within this battle, on top of other lap cars in the mix. I mean, Ben Caney, who's 8 laps down, is in this fight. You got about 2 lap down drivers, technically 4 that are in the mix, and then you got 4 guys that are on the lead lap, all battling for so many different positions in the mix, but they somehow string it out. Everyone gets by cleanly, and we race on as these drivers continue to wait for the green flag pit stop that's right around the corner.
Classic Martinsville, man. Only 17 cars right now at the moment out on the track. Is our leader is in major traffic as he's caught up to the back. Here is Scott Fritz, that last car on the lead lap, along with Cameron Taylor, are battling. This is the worst case scenario for Ronnie Norman. He needs to get around these guys quickly as they continue to battle. Will he make it 3? He thinks better of it.
Trying to push who he thinks is the faster driver, but caution happening behind, and it's Zachary Maddox who's gonna go loose, gonna go around and home in front of the leaders, almost taking out some guys.
That was way too close. Recovered for a few of them, but that this is an interesting timing of the caution here for sure. I mean, this is going to put them in a position where they can make it to the end, should be able to. But right here, Maddox gonna, I think, lose the race car, and that was just a late snap for him.
He clips the apron, and that's what unsettles it, and goes for a ride off the exit of the corner, and then backs up right in front of the leaders. Trying to stay on the lead lap was Zachary Maddox, because he was going to go 2 laps down once he got past, but just keeping it off the wall, that's a good thing. And then you're dramatically trying to stay ahead of the leaders. Oh my goodness, Ronnie Norman and Alabuzio having a little bit of a heart attack there.
Definitely had a heart rate moment for sure go up, and that was Hustine's. We'll ride on board here with the 17 and see what he sees. Luckily for him, he's able to see it pretty early, but you can see that definitely was like, whoa, for Norman also. So we'll watch here as they come to pit road now after this caution and see where they come out. But Norman definitely breathing a sigh of relief after not getting taken out in that.
And it's Brendan Maddox winning the race off of pit road. And Zach looks like having that first pit stall, helping out the 23 to cut time on pit road.
It definitely did. He gained a ton of time there, and that was exactly what you want to see if you're Brendan Maddox. You want to get back to the lead now, and he's in position to learn from the mistakes he made before. You know, that is the critical thing. Sometimes you make some mistakes that allow that 17 to get around you, and now maybe you can change a few things up here and there and be able to hold them off. But definitely in Ronnie Norman's court to see if he can get back up in position, and also what will Stallings do? What will Buzzio do? Because they were just as quick along with him.
End of the line penalty for the 14 of Zachary Maddox. Because it was self-spin, no one else involved. It is just a kind of a slap on the wrist penalty. If he does do the similar action, there could be a drive-through for the 14. So he's got to be careful still for the rest of this race on making sure he gets no more at faults. But for the rest of the field, I think we're going to see if our producer's still there. We're going to do a little bit of a crank it up on this upcoming restart as the pace car is heading into pit road. Brendan Maddox, Ronnie Norman, Dustin Stallings, and the rest of the field is ready to go green for the Quaxwell 250 at Martinsville. Green flag is out. The engines roar as we get going, heading into turn number 1. Crank up the volumes as the drivers roar off the exit turn number 2. Caution is out. Driver is getting loose off the exit turn number 4, and that looked to be Cameron Taylor. Hopefully you enjoyed that crank it up moment as this caution solidifies absolutely we're good on fuel to the very end of this race. But let's see what happened to bring out another caution here this evening. Going to be our 7th of the night. And oh boy, they were stacking up. Scott comes up and finishes the job on the 42 as he was at a stop, oncoming traffic. And that's what's going to bring out the caution as Ben Keeney in the 41 pulls it into pit road. To be a night done for himself. We see Scott Fritz going back up with the whiplashing move. But Zach, I mean, we saw everyone get single filed up, but that's the exact moments that you kind of get concerned about, is seeing everyone accordion in the center of the corner when there isn't a lot of space to work with.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the accordion effect happens so much when everybody just fights to get to the bottom. You don't really have those cars on the outside rolling around side by side. So yeah, that was definitely an unfortunate scene there, as Cameron Taylor just got clipped by the 48 after all that stacking up. So that's going to take him out of contention there. But also Adam Buzzio sitting on the front straightaway right now. A little concern for that as the 5 had to pull over there for a second. So hopefully he can get back going and get back in position, because one of our top 5 fastest cars of the night for sure.
And he still sits there as the pack is driving through, which that makes me concerned that he had to just quickly jump out. Mechanical error, if there was something else going on, we have no idea what's going on, but he finally gets revving and going. And will go at least one lap down. We're going to wait and see if iRacing is going to give those positions back. And it looks like it is going to give him the positions back, as Adam is racing on the outside to catch back up to the field.
Definitely, I think, lucky to say that he'll get those back for sure. So he'll be going around the pace car now and see if he can get line back up, because I think this time here we should get the 1 to green, I think. So he's got to quickly get up in position. We'll see if it gives all his spots back or not.
And he continues to catch up to the field as we have been given the 1 to green signal. And Brennan Maddox leads the way with Dustin Stallings. They're going to be the front row in control as pace car waits for nobody. We're about to go back to green flag racing again. Ben Keeney out of this race. There's another position for Coulter Clark that is 20 laps down is going to take. And for Coulter, I mean, he pitted, got all the damage repair. He was back in 20th position. He will now be 1 spot outside of the top 15 once he completes all these passes on Ben. So a little bit of a shocker as Adam is up to 4th. And we are ready to go back to green flag action as the field had a little bit of a confusing moment there under pacing, but we are back to it here for the Quaxel 250 at Martinsville Speedway. And Zach, awkwardness, but hey, this might help Adam. He's got warm tires ready to compete right away.
That he does, yeah. Catching up like that might help a little bit here, but Norman looks like he will clear for the time being. Is now the 5 is going to jump to the bottom there. That's going to actually make some contact between him and Wolsifer, and that made a huge stack up there as they're going to think to be 3 wide for a moment, but I think Buzzio holds on for the time being as he gets the better drive off.
And reports are in. Rev disqualifying the 48 of Scott Fritz. He is out of this race for himself.
Good call there. So Rev making that call, and we'll see how that all plays out as the week transpires and everybody, goes through their penalty appeals and all that such. So definitely an interesting scenario here, but Martinsville definitely can cause that to play out as Carl Pooler back here racing his old teammate at Johnny Wood Jr. This is some great racing, and this is where it all happens back here in the middle of the mix at Martinsville.
You're fighting for all these positions. You're fighting to go quick. And at the end of the day, you're attacking to go forward. And as saying by Rep, I hate that second penalty in the race, which I was trying to go through. I didn't see that he grabbed his first one, but supposedly that was his second penalty. I guess that first incident of the race, he was granted as at fault. So he was then disqualified from today's running. And now we're going to be seeing these drivers up front. Brendan Maddox, Dustin Stallings, Ronnie Norman, top 3 in the middle of the pack. They're already strung out in line.
If they are, and this time too, after we saw there with our crank it up scene there, Dustin Stallings was able in that restart to jump up to 2nd, and that is huge for Brendan Maddox. But I tell you, I say it's huge for Maddox. I think Stallings is just as much of a competitor for this win as the 17th. So he's going to have 2 hungry drivers now behind him also. And that 0-0 was very quick at the end of the last run.
I mean, Dustin Stallings yet to get a win so far this season. You know, you would love to get that here tonight. Just get that monkey off his back before we get to the chase later on, as Stallings is 4th in points entering this evening. Ronnie Norman 7th in points, still looking for his first win. There's been a couple of races this season where both drivers have had winning pace. But you need the luck, you need the chance. And here tonight, it looks like Brennan Maddox is looking strong at this current moment in time.
Maddox holding on strong, like you said, but I really think the 17 and this 0-0 are going to make it hard on his life for Holly. He's going to have to fight for these final few laps of this race. It's going to be very much a dash to the end. And if anything, if I'm Max, I kind of want these little green flag, 20 lap, 30 lap spurts. I don't really want this to go 70, 60, 70 laps like we've seen so far. I think that's when he starts to struggle a little bit more with the rear end as the tire heat just continues to build up as that run goes.
And there's no expected pit stops anymore. It's race it out. And looking at our telemetry that likes to kind of estimate if this race goes green, how long would this race be? Zach, 20 minutes is the estimated time. If they stay green from here to the end, I mean, that's having all these laps. It's over 60 laps done in a blink of an eye, it feels like.
It's Martinsville, man. It really just disappears right before you know it. And next thing you know, you'll be saying, oh, it's 50 to go. And then 15 minutes later, it's a white flag. And it's like, wow, that's just Martinsville for you. That place knocks them off quickly, 20-second laps consistently, and that will equate to quick times. But it also can be a place where you can quickly run out of time, and that's where the patience wears thin, and that's where issues uprise.
As the front runner's looking good, with Scott Fritz's being disqualified for having 2 at-fault incidences and having other cars involved with him, that will push Coulter Clark once he gets all those laps past Scott Fritz into 15th position. So you got to give credit to our points leader, have the mental fortitude to just continue racing on, even though it feels like you're racing no one at the end of the day. As you're seeing the rest of the competition race on, you also got to give credit to Eric Jensen, who's 9 laps down, who's continued to race on in 14th. I mean, this is some great running moves for these drivers that had early troubles and are just staying out there to just finish this race.
That's for sure. I mean, hey, it's going to be a good points night still for him. 14th and, the points, that is great. And if anything, we still have a long way to go here technically at Martinsville. Yes, time-wise, we don't technically, but it can be an eternity when you have some incidents. And if anything, some people get knocked out of this race, it could quickly stack up, and you never know. Jensen can go from 14th to be right on the verge of a top 10.
There is certainly a chance, as the race is still in line with one another. The choo-choo train of Brennan Maddox, Stallings, and the rest of the field. A couple of drivers trying to attempt for a pass. It is the lap down driver, Coulter Clark, that is going to get by 9th place runner of Johnny Wood Jr. That will cause a little bit of passing action as Rich Wolfsfer runs in 5th place. This is exactly what Richard needed. He had decent points at the stage break. He currently is looking still, Zach, to get another top 5 this season. I know we touched on the fact that Rockingham most likely should have won if he wasn't disconnected from that race. He had such a big lead tonight. In the rest of these final 2 races after this of the regular season, it's salvage points day. And that's kind of what I was trying to tell him before this race started is, surviving to the end is more important than racing some of these guys in the first 20 to 50 laps of a race.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, and for his sake, even, he came in here, only 8 points back. In 17, yes, he was 17th in points, only 8 points back from a driver who did not show up here tonight. And then you look, from Kyle Klink up to Christian Berry, it's another 11 points where Christian Berry's not here. So we could have 2 drivers over these next few weeks continue to drop down and going to propel some people, So this is huge for Richard Wolfsfer. He just needs to be consistent. He doesn't need wins. He doesn't need anything like that. A top 5 night like he's having so far is a huge victory in my book for him, because this is just going to continue to play in his hands the closer we get down to the end of this regular season. And with 3 tricky tracks, here with Martinsville, Motegi next week, in Michigan, You have to be on your P's and Q's as a driver. And I think he's just got to take points and not try to go reach out there and grab too much.
Colt Clark has now officially moved into 15th place as we are closing in on 50 laps to go here this evening. And, you know, talking about some of the other drivers, we haven't really put a big note on them. You know, we've talked about our top three quite a lot. Adam's trying to have a good recovery run for himself, but in 11th place, just outside of the top 10, Dakota, Bly, Zach Driver tied with 13th in points with Cameron Taylor. Taylor runs in 12th. I know Taylor was looking for some good points, but he missed out on stage bonus points. I mean, Dakota, if he can find a top 10 finish here, even with all of Richard's good runnings, it could be a tie between Dakota and Richard heading into next week at Twin Ring Motegi on who's going to be that driver at the cutoff line.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Dakota really took advantage of, you know, Maddox's spin there, because Maddox was ahead of him as the lap car, both of them one lap down. Maddox spins, brings out that yellow. You're not going to get that, you know, lucky dog as the first car lap down. It goes to the next car because of that, and Dakota Bly took advantage of that. He's up to 11th, and right now, you know, I mean, only about a second and a half back from Carl Pooler. If anything, this 88 still has an opportunity to get some valuable points, like you said, and it could make things very, very tricky for Wolfsburg even. So it is going to be a 3 weeks of drivers just calculating math, doing as much of it in their head to try to figure out where they got to place themselves to put themselves inside that top 12 in points.
And what's really helping Dakota, he's got to give credit to the guy that he was racing against during that long green flag run, and that is Zachary Maddox bringing out the yellow that allowed Dakota to get the lucky dog position, stay on the lead lap, while the competition that he's kind of worried about still track one lap down, if not more, as Dakota runs as the first driver on the lead lap. Other drivers that are trying to just gain as many points as they can, Carl Pooler for himself, he's 11th in points entering tonight. Hasn't had as much consistency as you would hope for, but this is Carl's career, it feels like, in BRB Sundance Pro Series. He's right on the edge of the cut line, but at the end of the season, he's usually in the chase. He's hoping this season will be the case as he runs in 10th place and watching battle for position between William Maple Jr. and Johnny Wood Jr.
Definitely awesome to see Carl having some good runs. And we got that podium at Rockingham, and that could be what you know, propels his momentum late in this season as he's running that 10th spot. And you're getting to see Maple Jr. Unfortunately, he was having a great run. I mean, still is. As I said, I thought for a moment Johnny Wood Jr. ahead of him was going to you know, clear him as we see that battle. William Maple Jr., though, fighting still strong, but he misses 3 and 4, and that's going to allow Johnny Wood Jr. up to 8th. Now William Maple Jr. back to 9th.
I mean, you got to give credit to this 12 machine. This has been a fun evening to watch how well is defended for most of tonight, but it just looks like it is coming to a conclusion of a top 5 finish. Top 10 is now in the window of the 12 machine. As you look a little bit further up ahead of them, the challenging of the 2 of Stephen Borbell, currently being challenged by 20 laps down driver of Coulter Clark. And Clark, he's racing with drivers that are just outside of the top 5, but man, is he racing like he's on the lead lap currently.
Definitely interesting, you know. I get Coulter still wants to go out there.
Oh, trouble for the lead. Brendan Maddox losing touch, going a little wide, and Dustin Stallings capitalizing on it. The 00 taking the lead position. And now Ronnie Norman trying to find a way to get around the 23 with 40 laps to go.
Big mistake from the 23 of Maddox, and got to kind of regather it up, and did a great job through the center there to roll that bottom and get the run up off. But he's got to defend here into 3 and 4, and he does a good job of it. Norman doesn't make any contact to the back bumper, elects to be clean for the time being, but we'll see how many blocks it takes before that 17 makes that bumper used.
And I mean, Zach, this is looking like a let's set up and try to help out Dustin type of a run, because you got Dustin Stallings leading this thing, Brendan Maddox in second, and let's add another Maddox brother ahead of him that's trying to not go another lap down. Zachary Maddox currently is being caught by this front group. Ronnie Norman getting a little bit of flashbacks from last week at Kansas. And Adam Buzzio, can he find a way to maybe mix things up here in these final 35 laps?
Gonna be a good question. I mean, if you're Maddox, you got to keep your head forward and try to at least stay with your teammate to try to put the pressure on him, because the farther, if you're Dustin Stallings, you get out there and you build a gap, the easier the pressure gets on yourself, of where you're not having to look in your mirror constantly to see, is he diving up the inside? Is he trying to make something work? So that's going to be critical here for these next few laps. If Maddox is able to fight back a little bit here and claw his way back up to the 00, the fight is still on for the lead. But if not, he's definitely going to be in defense mode, trying to hold this 17 back and fight for the second spot, while also, you know, playing a little help for your teammate. You definitely don't want to roll over and make anything easy for someone to go up there and catch your teammate. You're always going to do a little bit of that there for sure. But for the time being, it looks like Maddox not going to let Stallings get too far ahead as they catch up to that lap traffic, like we said, of Zachary Maddox.
And where will Zachary Maddox place himself? Expecting to go high. Might go to the inside to get out of the way of Stallings here as head down into turn number 1. The 14 will go out to the outside, trying to give space for our leaders to race on. Finds the opening to then go to the outside to get out of the way of his brother. That's Zachary Maddox and Brennan Maddox, the 14 and 23. Getting by the lap down machine, but Ronnie Norman haven't seen an opportunity. They're going to go 3 wide for a quick moment. Ronnie, though, backs out of the momentum. Now going to give a tap to the 23. And once again, it is just one of those things, Zach, where Brennan Maddox, heavy braking zones. It looks like his car should wash up another lane or two, but he somehow makes it stick to the inside.
He's doing a good job. He really drove it off in there, able to make it stick, and that is impressive. We've seen a lot of guys do that and wash up and, you know, kind of take the car outside and make contact. So done a good job of that so far. But through all of that, I mean, kind of lost some time there battling the lap car of his brother there off the exit of 4. So didn't get the most help and most brotherly love there for a clean get by, but only going to lose a little bit of time and try to reset and see if he can run back down that 00 Stallings, who's starting to open up his legs just a little bit. Is same for Buzzio. He's starting to fall back just a tiny bit.
And everyone in the top 4 running very similar lap times, but the advantage does go to Dustin Stallings and Ronnie Norman. The fall off is hitting the 23 of Maddox and Buzzio. And looking at some other drivers that battle on, you got the top 3 in their own mix, and Ronnie Norman's going to do everything to try to get by Maddox. It kind of was the storyline for most of that long green flag run that we had right after the stage break was over. And for Dustin Stallings, it's hit his marks. Don't overwork these tires. He was the fastest driver in those final 20 laps of a run, which is right where we're going to be here for these final 25 laps.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Stallings in the right position to be here if he wants to be able to drive away, but if he can keep it together. It's all about not making mistakes, all about consistency. It's all about each and every lap hitting that same braking marker and just keeping that car right pinned to the curb. If you're able to do that, it's just really hard to beat, and I think that's what Stallings has been able to do so far. He's had the recovery run here tonight after being involved in that early incident, and now putting himself in position for maybe the first win of the season for this past champion.
I mean, past champion driver that was on and off at times last season of having victories, but here tonight it has been Dustin Stallings spun out early on. Could he recover was the ultimate question, and he certainly has done a great job recovering. At the end of the day, this 00 found the opportunity, saw the competition racing each other more aggressively than maybe they wanted to. But Stallings, since last season, race 1 was the last time the 00 was in victory lane. It took him over a season and a half, and it's looking good if we can stay green.
Oh, man, I tell you, Ronnie Norman there drove it in so deep last time, trying to get as close as he could to the back bumper of that 23, but just lost the rear end on entry. And that's going to be playing a factor with not only a little bit of the tires starting to overheat here now running behind that car for this long, but also that little bit of dirty air. Yes, this track not really too much of an aero factor here in my opinion, but always some slight bit of aero when anytime there's fenders or anything involved with race cars out there. So there's always going to be some type of advantage, and I think the closer you get for Norman, the harder you got to dive it in there, and it's just losing not only the nose but also the rear end as he's trying to probably put much rear brake in it to get that car turned up right behind him.
And starting to see some of these battles catching up to more lap traffic as the battle for second we see on screen is going on. There's other battles that are also happening. Back for sixth position, Ray Walker, Stephen Borbell, they had a swappage of spots, and that battle looks not to be over just yet as Borbell showing the nose to the inside, and Johnny Wood Jr. trying to go through. A little bit of contact now to Borbell, and what a save by the 2 machine. That's Johnny Wood Jr. just clipped the rear end of the 2 in the center of the corner.
Wow. Yeah, that was a great save because the left front got up onto the curbing, onto the inside of the curbing, and he just somehow gathers it up and keeps it going for Borbell. He does drop back to 9th, but for the time being, that could have been a lot worse.
And now transfers Johnny Wood Jr. for the battle for 6th.
Maddox
Get by Gray Walker. No, Zachary Maddox spins around, and a caution is thrown, and it looks to be almost identical to what brought out the last caution.
This time, I think the only difference we're going to see here is just no curb usage here. And from what I'm looking at, I think he shifted. I think this was a case of trying to shift down to third because his RPMs go from 4,000 in the center of the corner to all of a sudden 6,800 on the late exit. And like that just tells me I think he might have shifted into third to try to get a good drive up off the corner. That extra power, extra torque in that lower gear, it equated to a lot of rear spin, and just loses that rear end.
Downshifts, loses it. And that is a spin around for the 14. That'll be a second cell spin. We'll see what there's going to be a drive-through penalty or not, but heading into pit road is the 14. Get service done, and this also puts into question, do you pit for tires or do you not? A couple of do pit, and that is going to be 5th on back. Johnny Wood Jr. going to get service done, as well as William Maple Jr., Stephen Borbell, Carl Pooler, Richard Wolsifer, but the main driver, note, Ronnie Norman, going to get tires, fuel, and about to race things out up front.
Norman got 4 tires. Wolsifer is the first car off pit road. He's going to take 2. So interesting call there for him. Also, Buzzio stopped again on the back straightaway. So hope whatever's going on with him isn't anything too bad.
And that is going to be also update on Cameron Taylor in the 42. He's called it an evening, so that could be another position for Coulter Clark up to 14th place. Oh, what a run for the 4-boot machine as he just continues to grab more and more positions. Same for Eric Jensen. But that is a hurtful moment for Cameron Taylor, who was tied with Dakota Bly, 13th in points. Though not going to be expected to take that coveted 12th place position in points heading into Twin Ring Motegi next week. But Zach, this certainly does open up a chance for someone to win that maybe we did not expect. Adam Buzzio is now up to speed and rolling and trying to get back into the top 4, but top 4 did not pit. They're going to be on 70 lap older tires. Dustin Stallings, Brendan Maddox, Gray Walker, Adam Buzzio. I mean, Zach, we know fresh tires are going to be better, but how do you utilize them? It's going to be the true question, and how much carnage is about to be ahead of us here as we're down to 15 laps to go. Going to be 14, maybe 13 when we go green.
I think the thing that I'm interested most in is to see, will the tires kind of come back to life a little bit? They get these cool down periods where you pace around here at this track, and that cool down period could be all it needs to kind of bring some life back into just enough time to hold them off. But I do like the call from a lot of these drivers coming down. Surprised a few more didn't take an opportunity, but also maybe felt like getting that track position, staying out of trouble is going to be the key thing. But Wolsifer the first one on freshies, but it's Norman the first on a set of 4. He's going to be up top. That's going to be the issue for him.
11 drivers on the lead lap, and if Dustin Stallings, Brendan Maddox don't get into victory lane, they're going to have a fun conversation with their Maddox, going to be with their Maverick Motorsports teammate of Zachary Maddox. But up front, old tires versus new. Top 4 are on old. Everyone else just got some freshies as we're back to green flag action for the Quaxel 250 down into turn number 1. It's the top 2 looking good, but Maddox, Norman, where will and when will their footings show? The fresher tires are better to show, and Norman already ripping the top for the 17.
Wolsifer in the bottom line has got stacked up behind the likes of of the 5 of Adam Buzzio, and it's allowed the 17 of Norman to roll around the top, get the positioning, and now try to make the move forward here as he goes to the inside of the 18 of Gray Walker.
And now going to be going to the inside. Norman trying to get by Walker, but William Maple Jr., another driver who took 2 tires, a top 5 running currently. But will he spin it out? He will. Contacted Gray Walker. They go around. Caution is out. And it's stalling, as well as Maddox. They've got to survive another restart.
Wow, another restart incoming, and Norman up to 3rd. That is huge for him in the 17. We'll see how this works out, but let's see exactly what first brought out this show is Maple Jr. having an excellent race here tonight. Unfortunately, Sam, going to come to a head right here.
And it's looking like it could be a drive-through for the 12 machine just because he gassed it up too soon and making contact with the 18 down into turn number 1. Thought he had an opening, didn't, spun around. And that will bring out another late caution. Going to be less than 10 laps to go when we go green again. And we're getting to shootout time. And Zach, we might need some overtime based off how these drivers are about to be racing here on every restart moving forward.
It's about to get wild for sure, Sam. Yeah, it's this is go time, and I think this is where push comes to shove. And we'll see again. Norman on the fresh tires. He's going to be on that 2nd row. If you're Stallings and Maddox, this is the time to have your best restarts of the night, and it's going to be interesting to see again how do those tires cool down. And I think another big thing is if you look on the cameras here, it has gotten a lot darker out on track. That's because we've had some cloud coverage roll through.
I'm curious if we can bring up weather, and then we'll bring up the race report, get a sense of what things are like. A drive-through penalty has been issued to the 12. You got to remember, all the way at the start of this midway point of this race, the track temp was at 112 Fahrenheit for the track temp. It has dropped now to 99. Air temperature around the same. We've had 9 cautions total, so we're hoping to have less than double digits in cautions. It's still there, but got to make sure we don't get another wreck that comes out. With the way these guys are racing, Zach, I got a feeling this one isn't over just yet. As again, William Maple Jr., due to making contact and spinning, that is deemed to be an at fault with cause of damage to another driver. Let's drive through penalty to the 12, as that's his first at fault of the night.
First at fault, like you said, so that's tough to see for him to get a drive through penalty, unfortunately, and it's going to make his night come to a finish that he probably didn't want with how he ran. So that's got to be tough for him. But let's see how this works out. An interesting call here. Stallings goes up top, Maddox to the bottom, and I think what they're trying to do here, Sam, is the teammate restart here at Martinsville, where your teammate launches on the outside and jumps down in front of you.
Yeah, and you also got the alliance driver of Gray Walker in the 18, going to be on the outer groove. They're all going to try to work together here to stop Ronnie Norman once again. Another week where the 17's got fresher tires. Can he utilize them better? Green flag is out. 6 laps to go. And Dustin Stallings, Gray Walker, good launch for themselves. And they'll stall out the 17 as Brennan Maddox playing a little bit of gunner. As now Richard Wolsofer going to be battling for that 4th place position. But it's Maverick Motorsports and it's going to be Black Birds leading up front, holding back the rest of the field.
We'll see what Gray Walker can do. What a position he's put himself in up here in the 2nd spot here, late in the going. Does he take a shot? Does he take an opportunity here for the win and see his first career opportunity come available? Or does he just look to hold on here for the time being as Stallings in position here to get maybe his first win?
5 make it now 4 laps to go, and Walker not looking as aggressive on the entry, and it's hurting him off the exit as well. Dustin Stallings hitting his marks, and Brennan Maddox blocking from out of nowhere on Ronnie Norman, forcing it side by side for 3rd place. Maddox once again, and they'll spin him, they'll wreck him. Norman around, and Norman back to the inside. Let's finish off the job.
Oh man, this is like it's come to blows here late in the going, and Maddox has thrown a lot of blocks on the 17 here tonight. I feel like at some point the 17 was not going to allow that to happen, and just stick his nose in there and make things happen. But unfortunately, they come to blows on the exit as the 17 comes up into him and going to turn him into the outside wall. So this is a classic Martinsville racing right here, and we'll see how everything shakes back up. But I want to see how this replay looks for us here, Sam.
What a block. I mean, he just continued to keep the nose. Norman said, I'm going to push on through. I mean, you've been blocked all night long. You're attempting these passes and just squeezes up. And it's one of those things. Norman was trying everything to keep the 23 on the outside wall and then just spins himself out off of the 23 machine. And that's just two drivers looking for blows. And ultimately, it's the 17 that will take the brunt of it. The 23, we'll see if race control, who he deems at fault, but I mean, it looks like Norman just was trying to put the 23 in the wall and hope that he could drive away, but ultimately he gets himself out of there.
Yeah, I think he got a little tight there on the exit and definitely didn't want to lift. I think after the block there, he knew the time was running out. I think he knew if he left it there, he was going to find him a few more corners and he wasn't going to have an opportunity, and he felt like maybe it would work out, but just a tough situation. Now you're not in position to get the finish you probably hoped for. So we'll see what Norman can do. And yeah, there it is. The drive-through has been given to him, and not surprising. Like you said, Sam, he kind of just came up into Brendan there on the exit of the corner.
You did everything right until the exit. I get that he wants to keep that position, but you cannot just hope that you can put him in the wall when you already have more than a nose ahead. You're going to spin yourself out, and that's ultimately what went down. And that will allow Brendan Maddox, even with all the contact, all the bruises, he'll stay in third. As now it will be Dustin Stallings, Gray Walker, Brendan Maddox, still your top three. Now add Richard Wolsifer into fourth. Fifth is Johnny Wood Jr. Stephen Borbell is sixth. Carl Puller seventh. Eighth is Dakota Bly. Ronnie Norman drive through, but he is currently in ninth. And 10th, Adam Buzzio. And Buzzio just got a set of tires, but Zach, we're in overtime. We're in our first of three if needed. And we're about to go back to green flag racing. The way overtime works, it's going to be 2 laps to go when we go green. If we get a caution under our first lap, we will head into our second attempt at overtime. But if the leader takes the white flag, the race is official, and it's all about who crosses the line first at the checkered. We want the white, or will we get a yellow? It's time to figure out on our first attempt at overtime as the Quaxidle 250 is back underway. Green flag is out of the air for Dustin Stallings and Gray Walker. Brendan Maddox hunting back in third as Richard Wolsifer, he's up to the outside wall, taking himself out. He's done. Johnny Wood Jr. trying to close in for third, but Stallings is all on his own up front.
Stallings looking for that white flag as he comes off a 4.
And they're spinning behind. Caution isn't out. White flag is out for these drivers. They race it on. It's Brendan Maddox, Stallings, and Maddox is holding back Woods. There's nowhere for him to go. Stallings is clear. It's been since October of 2025, the first race of season 5, and Dustin is back into victory lane here at Martinsville.
What a job by Stallings. Did everything he needed to do there late in the going. Got up to second on one of those restarts. Got around his teammate Maddox after a mistake. And it's just picture perfect on the restarts. And that's what you got to do to win here at Martinsville if you want to do that.
And he just felt like Brendan didn't feel like he had the car that was going to beat out the 00. So instead, defensive moves hold him back as everyone's coming in to try to give congratulational bumps, revs. And the 00 gets to burn it down here this evening. We needed just one attempt, but your Quaxel 250 winner is the 00. The Girl Dad Amp Energy Drink Machine is your winner here this evening. Congratulations to Stallings, as well as Brendan Maddox, Johnny Wood Jr. That will be your top 3. We'll talk to them in the post-race show as we come back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Season 6, Race 11 is done and dusted. We needed one overtime attempt, and the 00 of Dustin Stallings will be your winner. As we head down to victory lane to talk to the 00 to get his thoughts on this evening. Dustin, it has been a long time since you were last in victory lane here in the BRB Sundance Pro Series, but you've finally done it here for Season 6. How are you feeling surviving the chaos from Martinsville?
Be honest, with the car having 7.5 minutes of damage, it is absolutely amazing. I don't know how that worked out, but couldn't be more pumped up. I knew it was a long time coming. I had a shot to win at New Hampshire earlier this season, but a late caution kind of hurt me. But it's just unbelievable. I'm glad to get the win this season out of the way. It's been a long time coming, that's for sure.
And it definitely has, Dustin. We've been watching, man. You've been quick. I mean, week in, week out, every time you're out there on the racetrack. And congrats on getting this one done here tonight at Martinsville. But yeah, like you said, you had to come back from the 7.5 minutes of damage. That first off is incredible to hear. I mean, that you came back from that, but you had to slowly work your way through the field. I mean, it took till about lap 200 to even get in position to, be fighting for this win. We saw the speed coming in there late into that one long run. Once you finally got in the lead, though, it looked like it was very, very strong from you out front. How did it feel and change from when, being stuck behind people to then being out front with a clean car once again?
Kind of a big difference, because with traffic, you have to adjust everything to what the car is doing in front of you. And then also it's just super hard to pass. And you basically have to wait for somebody to make a mistake or maybe outbrake somebody into the corner and be able to roll the center and stay to their door on the exit. But there's a big difference in clean track. I'm able to run like I know how I need to run, and I don't know. When that wreck that I got in earlier in the race, I think I had 8.5 minutes of damage, and I think that one or two cautions after that, I was only able to get like a minute of it fixed. So for the car to still have 7+ minutes of damage, a lot of it was just rear end damage, so I didn't really affect how the car felt. It maybe made the car a little tighter, but it didn't feel much different than it did without damage. So I don't know. This track's a big rhythm racetrack, and consistency is a big factor. So once we got in that long run and I started seeing data for like 5 lap average or whatever of the field, and I started seeing a bunch of green pop up, and I was like, I might actually have a shot at this if I can work my way back up there.
I mean, I gotta say, Dustin, it was incredible to watch the way that you had to climb through the field to then take the lead and just staying there as long as you did. We got only 2 more races left in the regular season before we get to the chase. That's Twin Ring Motegi in Michigan. I know Twin Ring is kind of a question mark of no one really knows what to expect at that track, but how excited are you to go to a track that nobody really knows what we're going to see?
I don't really know. I mean, I did a test session yesterday or Sunday a little bit, but I think we got to have a custom setup for that, and I don't think we have it yet. But I just practiced with, I think it was the Gateway setup, and I don't know. It really going to depend on how that setup, the custom set that we're going to use, is going to feel like. This definitely a flat racetrack. Turn 1 and 2 is super wide. Like, it's just a long sweeping corner. So it's going to be interesting. I don't really, I know everybody don't really know how that's going to play out, but we'll see what happens.
We certainly will. Well, Dustin, again, congratulations on the win here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, give a shout out to you guys doing the broadcast. Do a great job. really enjoyed going back and watching these races. Everybody on the admin team with BRB, all our sponsors and partners and stuff, couldn't really do all this without those guys being on board. Huge shout out to my teammates and even the guys with Blackbird and even Ronnie. You know, me and Richard had some good racing. We rubbed doors a little bit because I kept having to chase the back of the car on entry, but just had good battles. I gotta kind of give everybody props because I expected way more cautions than what there was. But definitely my teammates again. I know a decent amount of them. They were struggling, and luckily, what I was kind of going over with them and kind of coaching them, it definitely showed tonight compared to the practice sessions that we did throughout the week. But yeah, that's about all I got, guys.
Well, congratulations again, Dustin. Enjoy this win. Congratulations on finally getting that monkey off your back this season, and good luck next week at Twin Ring Motegi.
Thank you, guys. See y'all next week.
Yep, you too. As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to talk to the guy that was dominated the first stage, was up front for majority of the second, but we'll take second at the end of the night. We got Brendan Maddox with us. And Brendan, I mean, you look strong, but even from your interview, you said you didn't feel like you were the strongest. We heard it in your voice. The confidence wasn't fully there, but a top 3 is still a good day. How are you feeling after the war you had in those final couple of laps to take second?
Oh, man. Dude, I feel pretty good about it, to be honest with you. I knew, I didn't know whenever Ryan and I got into each other, I thought I was going to be sent to the back, and I thought I had some damage. So, like, from that point on, I'm sorry, I think it just custom broadcast. I don't know if I could do that. So, anyways, pardon my language there. But so when that happened, I thought I was one. I thought I had damage. 2, I thought I was going to the back, and you know, hats off to Ronnie. He's just doing what he has to do to get by, and it just resulted in that. So there was just not enough room. Like, I don't know, one of the painted lines on the track is how much more room we needed. But I mean, you're right. I said it at the beginning, and I didn't feel like the strongest car. And I think during that green flag run, right until we had almost green flag stops, you guys probably saw it. You know, my goal there was to lead until halfway, so I have at least half the race led laps, and then after that, it's try to hang on for what I can. And I was surprised I even kept Ronnie within about a second and a half during that run. And I think he was holding back, though. Truth be told, so I'm very happy with it to win the stage and then come out here with a second. I can't be mad about that at Martinsville at all. And it's a sponsored race too for me. For my sponsor, Castle. So, you know, getting some good airtime, that's good.
Definitely got them plenty of airtime, Brendan, man. Great run here. Like you said, led the most laps, got the stage win, and ended up coming home second even after all of that at the end there. I mean, you guys elect to not pit there under that last yellow. Take us through the decision there, because, I mean, I understand the decision definitely to stay out of Martinsville, to stay out of the, you know, the mix in the back, but were y'all worried about it once y'all saw how many did pit?
Yeah, we were worried about it. Dustin and I were chatting like, man, what do we even do on this restart? And how do we maximize it so that we don't just get destroyed? And you know, really the leader gets lane choice, and then after that, it's down to how well you put the throttle down and can race these guys. So you know, we almost went in. I mean, I think if I remember, Dustin pulled into the lane a little bit and then pulled out last minute, and you know, that's about when the decision was made. And you know, it's whatever everyone except for a couple guys stays out, and you see the amount of people that took 2 and 4, and I know how good 2 tires rolls here. Yeah, there's a little bit more trepidation in my voice than there would have been, and even more than there was during the stage. So I mean, even with that in mind, I'm still shocked to come out with a second for sure.
And you survive the night, and ultimately you also take the points lead after you're running here this evening, with Coulter Clark also having his woes. So, you know, we got 2 races left in the regular season. You're now the new points leader. What's your mentality now heading into Twin Ring Motegi in Michigan, being the last races of the regular season?
Well, I'm missing Michigan, so I think Coulter. Well, actually, we're pretty close. Coulter, Adams, Dustin, even Johnny's up there. By the way, shout out to Johnny too. He was plowing my back bumper off, and we were talking about it, and that was just good. How we call short track racing. So shout out to him. He's really fun to race around. But for Motegi, it's just getting. Well, I think we have to get a setup ultimately, to be honest with you, and then just getting laps, and it's going to be a new track for everyone. So it's a toss up. And then Michigan. I'll be missing that, so I will drop maybe down to third or fourth, depending on how Motegi goes. And then the chase is going to be something different. So, yeah, it's just try to prepare the best you can. It's like this. It's prepare as best as you can.
Well, Brendan, congratulations on a second place finish here and finishing in the top 3. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, just shout out to the league, the admins, the sponsors of the league, not including myself. I feel kind of weird thanking myself, but I can't even remember their names now. Even shout out to Robert. He got new logos on the broadcast for us, and so appreciate that. Shout out to my dad as well. He's Sam. You've been here for a while too, so you know that I've carried these council colors since season 1. So it's been a long time coming, and get them some good finishes, and but you know he for the most part will pay entry fee for me for the season and turn for that sponsorship. So just thank him for that. It's a small amount, but it helps me come out here and enjoy my hobby and sim race with these guys.
Well, congratulations on second place here tonight, Brendan, and taking the points lead, and good luck next week heading to Twin Ring Motegi.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Zach.
As we move on from second place, we go down to third. Johnny Wood Jr. and the 75 tried everything. Sorry, Johnny, to pull you away from that conversation. But third place here tonight, you had the freshest of tires at the end, trying to march your way forward, but third was the best that you could get. How are you feeling, though, coming away with a third place from Martinsville?
That's cool with me after running mid-pack to the back all night. I mean, it's all about track position here, really. Yeah, I mean, at the end there, you seen I had fresh tires and Brennan was holding me off. I mean, that's like the textbook style of you know, brake checking in the corner. You know, not too crazy, just enough to get a little shove and get off the corner and not giving them a nose to get up under you. So, I mean, he did a really good job with the old tires and did what I could without, you know, doing something crazy. Being never fun. So. It was a good race.
Definitely a great finish there for you, Johnny. Like you said, kind of got that track position late there, and was able to pull off a top 3 here. How big a difference do you think those new tires were? Because it seemed like you guys definitely had a ton of grip there. You think if y'all had some more green flag laps, it would have been even better?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, you can I know here when you get about 20 laps on the tires, you can kind of move it to the second lane and kind of roll the top. But, you know, being a green-white checkered, I mean, you go to take it on the top, they can block you, and it's really not useful. So it's almost being so close to the end, you almost need to kind of pull them off the bottom. But, you know, like I said, the brake checking that he did was just textbook style, and you just couldn't peel them off the bottom. So third was where it was at today.
I know, Johnny, you won here back in season 2. You come away third here tonight, but like I said, you were kind of in the middle of the pack, kind of the hornet's nest for most of this evening. What is it like running these 250 plus laps, knowing you're around the competition that you are, and at any moment you guys could be making little mistakes that you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, that's where you just, you know, stay relevant and learn what you can with where you're at. I mean, when I was running mid-pack to the back, I was kind of seeing what the second lane was doing, what the bottom was doing. I was even shifting. I don't know if anybody noticed that on camera, but I was trying to learn how to shift, and I realized that shifting only kind of worked after those 50, 60, you know, lap old tires. You would kind of jump off the corner a little bit harder than the guys staying in fourth, and kind of just balled all that up. And when I got track position, try to use it all, but you know, you just didn't have enough laps there at the end to stay green. It just kept getting yellowed up. So
Well, at the end of the day, Johnny, you have moved up into 5th place in points and taking this 3rd place finish. 2 races left in the regular season. We're excited to see how you're going to finish out and get prepared for the chase. But before we let you go from tonight, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, I guess I'll shout out the regulars, my dad, my brother, he watches all the time, Richard for all these paints. Hopefully he can wear away a little in IRL racing suit here in a little while. My carts, we'll see how that goes.
Well, we can't wait to see how that comes through. Johnny, congratulations on 3rd here this evening. And we'll talk to you hopefully tomorrow next week at Twin Ring Motegi, and hopefully also on Thursday nights.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully so.
Hopefully. Well, that'll be Johnny Wood Jr. coming up a 3rd here tonight. Certainly a interesting one, ups and downs. We needed an overtime attempt at the end of the day. But Zach, I think overall, a night that kind of at the end turned into a Martinsville race where there's chaos. But overall, this was one of the better Martinsville races of green flag racing. Almost got green flag pit stops. This was fun to see how these drivers evolved to this point as we start to bring up the unofficial results.
Definitely was awesome to see how it worked out. As like I said, with these unofficial results, of course, Stallings coming up in that 1st position. Maddox is going to be 2nd after really dominating that first half of the race there. So good job on him getting some great points, taking the points lead. 3rd is going to go to Johnny Wood Jr. We just talked to him. Gray Walker's 4th. 5th is Borbell. 6th is Buzzio. Maple Jr. going to be in 7th. 8th is going to be Richard Wolsifer. 9th, Dakota Bly. And rounding out that top 10 there is Carl Pooler. And same as we look through the rest, it definitely, like you said, one of the better Martinsville races I've ever at least had the pleasure of commentating. So that was a great job from everybody all around.
Yeah, great job all around. Ronnie Norman, obviously not the finish he wanted, as he had a drive-through penalty during that last restart, and so he fell down to 11th. Zachary Maddox in 12th. Coulter Clark will take 14th. Loses the points lead heading into Twin Ring Motegi next week, but he'll take a 14th place finish when he was looking to maybe, if he left after getting that initial damage, the finish back in 20th position. I know there's a lot of other drivers of watch out and see what they've got, but Zach, crazy thing, point standings are out. The cutoff line drivers now, Dakota Bly 11th. 12th in points is Richard Wolsifer, as Cameron Taylor stays in 13th, and Jordan White, even with being taken out early, that 83 is now 14th in points. He still has a lot to gain, but this cutoff line battle is going to be something you do not want to miss these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that cutoff line, it's going to run all the way down to Michigan. I mean, it's going to go all the way down to the very, very end of this thing, and we're going to be talking about that, in the final few laps even probably of that race. So it's going to be fun to watch, and, man, again, tons of credit to everybody here tonight in Martinsville. It was really, really good racing, and Stallings also breaking through for his first victory, man. That was awesome to see.
It's great to see him get the win for this season for that 0-0. But for us here this evening, it was a pleasure to give you the call on Tuesday nights for the BRB Sundance Pro Series for Season 6. Race 11, the Castle 250 victor is the 0-0 of Dustin Stallings. We also want to say thank you to the primary sponsors of the BRB Sundance Pro Series for Season 6, being Sundance Pizza. If you're in the Wickensburg area in Arizona, go check out their pizza. I can personally say I've had it. I am jealous that it's not my area, but if you're ever near Sundance Pizza, please go check it out. Also, mxwraps.com, Performance Food Service, SimWrap. Also going to be seeing SimWrap, the Whiplash Sim Cams, couldn't get that out. As well as RevSimShop.com and CC Bees Knees. Go check out all of the great sponsors that have helped out the BRB for Season 6. But for us here tonight, want to say thank you for myself, Sam Dyer, for as well Zach Hall and Robert Moyer Jr. It's been a pleasure to give you the call here on your Tuesday night. It is Dustin Stallings taking the victory. Question is, can he carry on this momentum moving forward, or are we going to see ourselves being kind of stuck with the competition between the teammates of Brandon Maddox carrying on that points lead? Can't wait to see Twin Ring Motegi going to be wide open on who can win. Brand new track. They're still waiting on the point when that setup's going to come through. If you can't wait until then, don't worry, we got you covered. We are going to be giving you 802 Elite Next Gen racing coverage this upcoming Thursday as the next gen vehicles head to Chicagoland. It's going to be a good one. We cannot wait for it, but we will see you next Tuesday for more racing action from Twin Ring. Can't wait until then. We'll see you Thursday for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel, and every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame, 'cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath, when every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. Up, it's my turn this time. They took a shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go from here?